You're listening to Mate Heist, Love on the Run, written by Deanne Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. What happens when a woman locked in a basement for 29 years finally breaks free and crashes straight into an alpha breaking in? Lotus had a plan: escape, find sanctuary, live free. She did not plan to steal a burglar's van, jump a ravine at 60 miles per hour, or fall for the dangerous alpha whose life she saved with magic she wasn't supposed to use. West had a plan: retrieve his family's stolen heirloom, get out clean. He did not plan to rescue a woman with glowing hands and a talking ferret who knows ferret foo. He definitely didn't plan to destroy everything he had to break the curse threatening to steal his mate. Add the two together, and you've got a shifter romance that's equal parts chaos, heart, and laughter. Buckle up. This heist is about to get wild. This is an original story, written exclusively for the audience of this channel. The only way to support this channel is to like, share, and comment below. Your engagement will help this warm-hearted shifter romance with lots of heart and laughter keep coming. Want your story idea featured next? Comment below. Deanne Leo reads every comment you write. Also, as requested by many of you, yes, there is a laugh-worthy bonus chapter for you. Link in the description and pinned in the first comment below. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. The basement smelled like old money and newer regret. Lotus pressed her palm against the biometric scanner, holding her breath while the red light blinked. Once, twice, the lock disengaged with a soft click that seemed loud enough to wake the dead, or worse, the security detail upstairs. This is a terrible idea. Jasper's whiskers tickled her neck as he shifted on her shoulder, his white fur practically glowing in the emergency exit lighting. Historically terrible, like Titanic-level terrible. Should we discuss the Titanic? Because I have thoughts about inadequate lifeboat preparation and the hubris of Jasper. Lotus grabbed the door handle. We have a plan. The ferret sighed, a sound that somehow conveyed deep philosophical disappointment from a creature the size of a tube sock. I stress talk. It's a thing. And for the record, when we get caught, when, not if, I'm throwing you under the metaphorical bus. No loyalty, none whatsoever. You've been planning this escape with me for a month. Under duress, emotional duress, you gave me those eyes. Jasper's tiny paw waved near her face. The Lotus eyes. What chance did I have? 0. That's how much. Lotus pulled the door open and stepped onto the landing. 3 flights of stairs descended into darkness, and somewhere down there was the basement exit, the one blind spot in her father's suffocating security system. The one night of the year when the entire pack gathered at the main house for the full moon ceremony, leaving her here, safe, trapped. Same thing, really, when you'd spent 29 years watching life happen through bulletproof windows. Her wolf stirred beneath the suppressant, restless and wrong. The pill sat like lead in her stomach, dulling everything her spirit wolf wanted to tell her. But that was the price of freedom tonight. You know what I love about basements? Jasper's claws dug into her shoulder as she started down the stairs. Absolutely nothing. Basements are where horror movies happen. Basements are where hopes and dreams go to die. Basements are where the exit is. A statistical anomaly in architectural design, yes, but still. Lotus reached the bottom landing and froze. The service tunnel stretched ahead, narrow and dim. Emergency lighting cast everything in sickly yellow, turning the concrete walls the color of old teeth. The exit door sat at the far end, gray metal, institutional, with a digital keypad glowing red. 20 feet away, maybe less. Her wolf surged forward despite the suppressant, every sense trying to sharpen through the chemical fog. Something felt wrong. The air tasted metallic. No, not metallic. Charged. Like static before lightning, like the moment before a predator strikes. Her skin prickled, and she couldn't tell if it was fear or excitement or her muffled wolf trying to warn her about something she didn't understand yet. She reached for the handle. Locked. Well, obviously. Jasper scampered down her arm, his tiny claws tickling through her jacket sleeve. Stand back and prepare to witness greatness. He reached the keypad and inserted one claw into the access panel with the confidence of a safecracker in a heist movie. This is a Schlager B489WB. Very fancy, very expensive, very much no match for the magnificent Jasper, master of... The door burst open. That wasn't me. Jasper's voice shot up 3 octaves. That was not me. I didn't even finish my monologue. A shadow exploded through the doorway. Male, large, moving fast. Lotus's vision tunneled, everything narrowing to that shape rushing toward them through the sickly yellow light. Her muffled wolf screamed something that got lost in the sudden thunder of her heartbeat. Hi-ya! Jasper launched himself from her shoulder with a battle cry that would have been terrifying if it wasn't coming from something the size of a TV remote. He flew through the air, white fur streaming behind him like a tiny, furious comet. The man stumbled back. What the? Jasper's back leg whipped out mid-flight, catching the man square in the nose. His disproportionately fluffy tail spun in a complete rotation, smacking the man's face twice in rapid succession. "Ferret foo, baby!" Jasper shrieked, landing on the man's shoulder. "That's right, you just got kicked by a ferret. How's that feel? Humiliating, I bet." The man cursed, swatting at his shoulder. Jasper executed a perfect barrel roll over the man's head. Total showboating. Landed on his opposite shoulder, then raced down his arm like it was a highway specifically designed for tiny martial artists. "Respect the dojo," Jasper called out, reaching the man's wrist. "Respect the sensei. Respect the..." He leaped off the man's hand, spiraled through the air, and landed back on Lotus's shoulder with all the grace of a drunk pigeon. "Ferret!" Jasper struck a pose, one tiny paw raised in victory. "Nailed it. Did you see that? Tell me you saw that. That was my signature move. The spinning Jasper of Doom. Patent pending." The man straightened, rubbing his nose. Blood didn't come, but his eyes watered. "Your ferret just attacked me." "Correction." Jasper panted slightly, still in his victory pose. "I just defended my human from a suspicious intruder using ancient ferret foo techniques passed down through generations of... He's protective." Lotus stepped toward the open door, her heart still hammering. "And you interrupted his lockpicking. So, consider we didn't see each other." She moved past him, close enough to catch his scent, wood smoke and morning frost, like a campfire in a forest at dawn. Her wolf stirred harder beneath the suppressant, pushing against the chemical barrier. The man's hand shot out, not grabbing, just blocking her path. "You're picking a lock from inside." "It's a long story. I only need a short answer." His eyes darkened. "Are you being kept here against your will?" Lotus's throat tightened. "I want to leave. I'm leaving now. That's not what I asked." "What's your problem?" "You're locked in." His voice dropped, quiet and dangerous. "I have a problem with that." "And you're breaking in, so..." "You shouldn't care about me breaking and entering." He shifted, blocking more of the doorway without touching her. "You're trying to escape. You don't care about them, so why do you?" "I didn't say I cared. Then why are you protecting them?" "I'm not..." Lotus waved him off, turning to slip past. "Just go." His hand caught her shoulder, gentle but firm, turning her back. He locked eyes with her, and something in her chest cracked open despite the suppressant. "Are there others?" His voice gentled. "Because if they're keeping people against their will, trust me, I'll do more than breaking and entering." Lotus shrugged out of his grip, her pulse jumping. "I don't know why you're..." "Hello." Jasper's voice cut through the tension like a tiny, exasperated knife. "I know you both have stars in your eyes right now. Very romantic, very Hallmark. I get it. But I feel obligated to remind you of your current situation. You don't have time for proper courtship rituals, or improper ones. No time for any rituals involving sustained eye contact." The man released her shoulder, his attention flicking to the ferret. "I know the family's not home, and security has significant time gaps between changeovers. We have time." Jasper's whiskers twitched. "Bold of you to..." Alarm bells shrieked through the tunnel. "Oh no." Jasper hunched down on Lotus's shoulder, grabbing her jacket collar. "No, no, no, no. That's what I meant by not having time." The ferret's voice pitched higher. "This is why it was a bad plan. We have 5 minutes before the family comes back and 3 before security arrives. 3 minutes. You won't make it on foot." The man was already moving, catching Lotus's wrist. "Use my van." No time to think, no time to argue. Lotus ran. They burst through the service door into the garden, cold air slapping her face. The man's hand was warm around her wrist, pulling her through paths she'd only seen from windows. Gravel crunched under their feet. Jasper clung to her shoulder, his claws digging in with each stride. 30 seconds. Through the back gate, onto the street where a beat-up white van idled at the curb. The man yanked open the passenger door, practically lifting her inside. Jasper tumbled into her lap as the man slammed the door and ran around to the driver's side. Engine roaring, tires squealing. Then they were moving, the mansion shrinking in the side mirror, and Lotus couldn't tell if her heart was racing from fear or adrenaline or the scent of wood smoke still clinging to her jacket sleeve. The van smelled like old coffee and something sweet. Pine, maybe, or cedar. Not unpleasant, just lived in. Lotus pressed her palm against the passenger window, watching the city lights blur into streams of gold and white. The highway stretched ahead, dark and endless, and for the first time in many years, she had no idea where she was going. Her wolf settled beneath the suppressant, finally quiet. Free. The man's hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white in the dashboard light. He drove fast, but controlled, checking the rearview mirror every few seconds like he expected pursuit. So, his voice broke the silence, rough around the edges. That happened. Jasper popped his head up from Lotus's lap, whiskers twitching. Yes, it did, and I'd like to state for the record that my ferret foo was flawless. You're welcome, by the way. I saved everyone. You kicked me in the nose. Exactly. Saved. Everyone. The man's jaw twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. He glanced at Lotus, then back to the road. I'm West. Lotus. Lotus. He repeated it like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. And the violent ferret? I am Jasper. The ferret stood on Lotus's thigh, tiny chest puffed out. Jasper Cornelius Whiskerton III, master of ferret foo, keeper of the sacred cheese wheel, liberator of locks, champion of the downtrodden, defender of— Just Jasper, Lotus said. Jasper is fine. The ferret deflated slightly, sitting back down. For now, but when I get my memoir published, I'm using all the titles, all of them. West's mouth definitely twitched that time. He shifted gears, merging onto a darker stretch of highway. I'm Alpha of the Nightfire Pack. The name meant nothing to Lotus. I broke into the Silvercrest Pack's estate tonight. West's voice stayed level, matter of fact. The mansion you just escaped from. They have something that belongs to my family. I went in to get it back. So you're a thief. Jasper's tone suggested this was a promotion, not an insult. I'm retrieving our property. Tomato, tomato, still breaking and entering. I respect that. Lotus stared out the window, processing. Silvercrest Pack, her father's pack, the one that had kept her locked up like a princess in a tower, except there was no prince coming, and she'd stopped believing in fairy tales around age 12. What do you do? West glanced at her again, his eyes catching the highway lights. When you're not escaping from basements? I study art. The words came out flat, defensive. She didn't elaborate. West waited, but she didn't add more. Right. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. Where do you want me to drop you off? I have a plan. Good. Where? Lotus pulled the folded paper from her jacket pocket, smoothing it on her thigh. The invitation, the only connection to the outside world she'd managed to make. Kangri Monastery, she read. It's a spiritual retreat center. I'm meeting someone there. The van swerved slightly. West straightened it, then turned to stare at her. You're joking. No. Kangri Monastery. You want me to drop you at Kangri Monastery? Yes. The one in Tibet. Lotus's stomach dropped. What? Kangri. West's voice held something between disbelief and pity. It's a mountain in Tibet, actual Tibet. We're currently driving on a highway in the middle of nowhere, Coburg City. To get to Tibet, you'd need to fly international. Passport, visa, about 20 hours of flight time. Oh no. Jasper's small voice came from Lotus's lap. Oh no. What? Lotus looked down at the ferret, whose whiskers had drooped considerably. I might have. Jasper's paws fidgeted with her jacket button. There's a small possibility that I misidentified the location. Jasper. In my defense, I only get 15 minutes of internet access per week. The ferret's voice rose defensively. I have to borrow a guard's phone, and I have to be very selective about what I search because poor Gerald is already confused about some of his browser history, which we will not discuss. The point is, Jasper waved a paw. The point is, Kangri might be a venue name here. Like here, in Corbug. I just need more time to relocate it. West pulled into the slow lane, his shoulders tight. This is unbelievable. Gerald's search history? Jasper tried. All of it. Silence filled the van, except for the hum of tires on asphalt. Lotus stared at the crumpled paper in her hands, her careful plans dissolving like smoke. Of course nothing could be that simple. She'd spent a month preparing, and she hadn't even gotten the location right. West exhaled, long and slow. Temporary solution. I'm heading to a cabin to stay overnight. Cabin? Jasper perked up slightly. The break-in isn't exactly something I want to involve my pack in. Corporate espionage isn't our usual style. West rubbed his jaw. I need to lay low until tomorrow, then head back to Pack Lands. You can stay at the cabin tonight. See if your ferret can find more information tomorrow. There's internet at this cabin? Jasper asked hopefully. No. Then how? I'll take you back to the city tomorrow. You can use a library computer or something. West glanced at Lotus, his expression unreadable. Better than dropping you at a random hotel with no money and nowhere to go. Lotus wanted to argue, wanted to insist she had a plan, that she didn't need help from a stranger who'd literally just burglarized her father's estate. But she didn't have a plan. Not anymore. Okay, she said quietly. West turned off the highway onto a narrow dirt road. Trees pressed close on both sides, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the stars. The headlights carved a tunnel through the darkness, illuminating rough gravel and the occasional flash of animal eyes. Cabin's just ahead, West said, about half a mile. The van bounced over a pothole. Jasper tumbled against Lotus's thigh, muttering something about proper shock absorbers and vehicular abuse. But West's driving had changed. Lotus noticed it first in his hands, the way his grip loosened on the steering wheel, then tightened again. The van drifted slightly right before he corrected. His eyes weren't quite focused on the road anymore. You okay? The words came out before she could stop them. Fine. But his voice sounded rough, edges blurred. Lotus looked down at his hands. His right hand showed a long scratch across the back, angry and red even in the dim dashboard light. She hadn't noticed it before. Your hand. She leaned closer. What happened? Nothing. Scratch from a cactus in the garden. When I was breaking in. West blinked hard, like he was trying to clear his vision. Damn thorny thing near the east wall. The garden with the low dark wood fence? Yeah. Why? The scratch mark pulsed. No. Not pulsed. Expanded. Lotus watched in horror as thin black lines spread from the wound, crawling up West's hand like veins of poison. They moved fast, threading under his skin, racing toward his wrist. Pull over, she said. What? Pull over now! West hit the brakes. The van lurched to a stop, front bumper kissing the rough bark of a massive oak tree. He threw it into park, yanking the handbrake just before his hand went slack. That cactus. Lotus grabbed his arm, turning it toward the dashboard light. The black veins had reached his elbow, spreading faster now. The one near the east fence, it's not a cactus. It's hemlock crown. The Silvercrest pack grows them as a defense. It's what? West's pupils were dilating unevenly, his words starting to slur. Poisonous. To shifters specifically. Lotus's hands shook as she traced the black lines. They were moving toward his shoulder now, racing for his heart. It spreads fast. Minutes, not hours. I can heal you, but I need information. Your birth time and your clan bloodline. West tried to focus on her face. Failed. Can't think. Birth time. Lotus shook his shoulder. When were you born? What clan? His eyes rolled back slightly, consciousness slipping. "West!" She caught his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. "Stay with me. I need your birth time. Please." He opened his mouth. Something that might have been words came out, but they were too soft, too garbled. Then he collapsed forward, his weight hitting the steering wheel. The horn blared once before Lotus shoved him back against the seat. "No, no, no, no." Her fingers found his pulse. Still there, still beating. But the black veins had reached his collarbone, spreading like spilled ink across his skin. "Jasper!" She whirled toward the ferret. "We need to get him to the cabin. I need space to work. I need to lay him flat." Jasper stood on the passenger seat, staring at West's unconscious form. "Lotus." "Now, Jasper." "Lotus, I'm a ferret." "I know that. I'm a ferret." Jasper gestured at himself with both paws, as if she'd somehow missed this crucial fact. "I can pick locks, I can kick faces. I can locate high-quality Swiss cheese in a 50-meter radius. I have many skills. But driving a 2015 Econoline van with a manual transmission is not one of them. You have to try. I have 4-inch legs and no opposable thumbs. My legs don't reach the pedals. I can't see over the steering wheel." Jasper's voice climbed higher with each word. "I once tried to drive a toy car in a pet store, and it ended in a lawsuit." "A lawsuit, Lotus!" "Then what do we do?" Lotus pressed her fingers against West's neck, feeling his pulse flutter weak and fast under her touch. Jasper's whiskers drooped. "You're going to have to drive." "I've never driven before." "Then tonight's your lucky night for new experiences." Jasper hopped onto the dashboard, pointing at the pedals. "That's the clutch. That's the brake. That's the gas. You're going to use all three, probably incorrectly, while I navigate and pray to the ferret gods that we make it to the cabin before this nice alpha dies in his own van." Lotus stared at the unconscious man slumped in the driver's seat, then at the pedals, then at the dark road ahead. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay?" Jasper's voice went up another octave. "That's it? Just okay? Do you have a better idea?" The ferret's silence was answer enough. Lotus grabbed West under the arms and pulled. Chapter 2. The cabin looked like it should be condemned. Lotus half-carried, half-dragged West up the sagging porch steps, his weight making her knees shake. Peeling paint curled off the walls like dead skin. One window was cracked, taped over with what looked like a garbage bag. The door handle hung at an odd angle. "This is where we're dying tonight," Jasper muttered from her shoulder. "Just so we're clear, this is a murder cabin. A murder/tetanus cabin. Help me with the door." Lotus propped West against the railing, his head lolling forward. Again, ferret, no thumbs, limited upper body strength. But Jasper scampered down her arm anyway, disappearing into the door's lock mechanism. Though I will say, for a nice alpha who retrieves stolen property and offers rides to strangers, this is a surprisingly sketchy. Oh. The lock clicked. The door swung inward. Warm air rushed out, carrying the scent of cedar and something else, bread maybe. Recently baked bread. Lotus stepped inside, dragging West with her. The interior made her stop mid-step. Hardwood floors gleamed in the soft light from strategically placed lamps. A stone fireplace dominated one wall, logs already stacked beside it. Thick rugs covered the floor in rich burgundy and gold. The furniture looked hand-carved, solid, and well-maintained. Bookshelves lined the walls, packed with actual books, their spines worn from use. "Okay, not a murder cabin." Jasper's whiskers twitched as he surveyed the space. More like a rustic gentleman's reading retreat cabin, which is somehow more suspicious. Who maintains a decoy hovel exterior? Someone who doesn't want visitors. Lotus half-carried West toward the largest rug, her arms burning. "Help me get him down." "Again, ferret, but I'll provide moral support." She lowered West onto the carpet as gently as she could manage. He was heavy, all muscle and dead weight. His head hit the rug with a soft thump that made her wince. The black veins had spread across his chest now, threading toward his heart like roots searching for water. No time. Lotus's fingers found the suppressant bracelet at her wrist. The metal was warm from her skin, humming with the constant low frequency that kept her wolf muzzled. She twisted it off. The world exploded into focus. Colors sharpened. Sounds amplified. She could hear Jasper's heartbeat, quick and worried. could hear the settling of the cabin's old wood, could hear West's labored breathing beneath the poison. Scents layered over each other, cedar and bread and West's wood smoke musk, but also the acrid chemical smell of the hemlock crown working through his system. Her wolf surged forward, finally free, stretching into spaces the suppressant had compressed. "Better," her wolf whispered. "This is better." "Lotus?" Jasper's voice came from somewhere near her knee. "Your eyes just went full glowy. Very dramatic. Are we doing magic now?" "We're doing magic now." Lotus knelt beside West, her hands hovering over his chest. She grabbed his shirt and pulled. Buttons scattered across the hardwood, pinging like hail. The fabric tore, and she shoved it aside, exposing his chest. The veins had nearly reached his heart, maybe 6 inches away, maybe less. No time to think, no time to worry about consequences. Lotus pressed both palms flat against West's chest and pulled. Light bloomed under her hands. Not metaphorical light. Actual light, golden and warm, spilling between her fingers like liquid sunshine. It poured into West's skin, spreading across his chest in waves that pushed back against the black veins. "Holy!" Jasper's voice sounded far away. "Holy cheese wheels, Lotus. You're glowing." She was. Her whole body hummed with it, power cycling through her like electricity through copper wire. The light magic answered to something deeper than conscious thought. It knew poison when it tasted it, knew sickness and wrong things that didn't belong. The black veins recoiled. Lotus followed them, her hands moving across West's chest. The light intensified, brighter and hotter, burning away the poison. She could feel it fighting back, feel the hemlock crown trying to dig deeper, but her magic was older, stronger. Her wolf rose to meet it, adding her own power to the mix. The veins retreated toward the scratch on West's hand, withering and fading. The blackness turned gray, then translucent, then vanished completely, leaving only healthy skin and the fading memory of danger. West's breathing evened out, his heartbeat strengthened under her palms. Lotus kept the light flowing, checking every inch of his system. No poison left, no darkness hiding in corners. Just West, alive and healing, and her wolf surged forward so hard Lotus gasped. "Mate." The word detonated in her mind like a bomb, shaking everything loose. Her wolf's certainty crashed through her, absolute and undeniable. "Mate! Mate, mate!" Lotus jerked backward, nearly falling on her ass. Her hands left West's chest, the light winking out. She scrambled back until her shoulders hit the couch. "What?" Jasper hopped closer, whiskers twitching. "What's wrong? Is he dying? Did the magic not work? Because it looked like it worked. Very impressive light show." "My wolf!" Lotus's voice came out strangled. She called him... Called him what?" "Mate." Jasper sat down hard on his tiny ferret haunches. "Oh. She marked him." Lotus stared at West's unconscious form, her heart trying to hammer out of her chest. She sensed him before he walked through that basement door, but she couldn't mark him with the suppressant on. And just now, when I was healing him, I drew a drop of his blood for the magic, and she took the opportunity to claim him as your fated mate. Jasper's voice held an odd note of satisfaction. "I knew it. You did not." "I absolutely did. The chemistry was obvious." Jasper puffed up slightly. "The sustained eye contact in the basement, the protective hand on the shoulder, the way you both kept doing that thing where you look at each other and then look away really fast." "We just met." "Exactly. And yet," Jasper waved a paw at West, "Mate, I've been researching this extensively. Dating dynamics, relationship patterns, the whole courtship process. Very educational. Gerald's search history might have some overlap with my research, actually. Hypothetically." "Jasper, the point is I saw this coming." The ferret looked entirely too pleased with himself. Lotus pressed her hands against her face, trying to think through the chaos in her head. Her wolf was still howling mate, mate, mate like a broken record, circling and pacing and generally making coherent thought impossible. "He still needs another treatment," she said finally, dropping her hands. "One more dose of light magic and he'll be fine. Then we need to contact his pack, get them to come pick him up. Why can't you heal him all the way yourself? Jasper hopped closer to West, sniffing at his hand where the scratch had been. Because I can't. Lotus looked at the suppressant bracelet clutched in her fist. To finish healing him, I'd have to keep this off for hours, maybe longer, and I don't know him well enough to— She cut herself off. To trust him, to let him see what she was without the suppressant dulling everything. Also, Jasper said slowly, you taking off the suppressant means they can find you now, right? The people we're not supposed to talk about? Lotus's stomach dropped. Yes. How long until they— I don't know. Hours, maybe less. She twisted the bracelet between her fingers. That's why I need to put this back on as soon as possible, but first we contact his pack. With what phone? Jasper looked around the cabin. I don't see a landline, very rustic, very off-grid. We use his. Lotus gestured to West's pocket, where she could see the outline of a phone. But there's no signal here. We'll have to take it back to the highway, at least to the edge of the forest. Jasper's ears perked up. The van? Won't start. I crashed it into the fence pretty hard, and I think I heard something leaking when we got out. Probably gas. The memory of her first driving attempt made her wince. The clutch and I did not get along. So we walk. You walk. I shift. Lotus pushed to her feet, swaying slightly. The magic had drained her more than she'd expected. I can cover ground faster as a wolf. You ride, I run. We get to where there's signal and call his people. Jasper's tail fluffed. Ride? On a wolf? Like, on your back? Unless you want to stay here with an unconscious alpha. No. The wolf riding sounds great. Very heroic. I'm in. Lotus moved to West's side, checking his pulse one more time. Steady. Strong. The poison was completely gone, but he was still weak, still recovering. His body would need rest and his pack's support to finish healing properly. That was how shifter healing worked. The wolf inside took over once the immediate danger passed. She brushed his hair back from his forehead without thinking, then snatched her hand away. Mate, her wolf whispered, smug. Shut up, Lotus muttered. I didn't say anything, Jasper said. Not you. She stood, moving toward the bedroom she'd spotted off the main room. Her clothes would just get shredded when she shifted. Better to take them off first, bag them, carry them in her mouth. The bedroom was as well maintained as the rest of the cabin. A large bed with a thick quilt, more bookshelves, a dresser. She found a canvas tote bag hanging on the back of the door and stuffed her jacket inside, then her shirt, jeans, shoes. Jasper, she called. Ready? The ferret appeared in the doorway, then immediately spun around. Warn a ferret. Naked human alert. I'm shifting in 5 seconds. Still processing. Still traumatized. Lotus closed her eyes and let the shift take her. It rolled through her body like thunder, bones reshaping, muscles reforming, skin erupting into fur. The pain was brief and familiar, almost comforting after months of keeping her wolf caged. Her senses sharpened further, the world resolving into scents and sounds that made her human perception seem dim by comparison. When she opened her eyes, the cabin looked different. Larger, colors muted, but movement amplified. Jasper turned around slowly, his tiny nose twitching. Okay, that's a big wolf. That's a very big wolf. Why are you such a big wolf? Lotus picked up the tote bag in her jaws, careful not to puncture it with her teeth. Right, less talking, more running. Jasper scampered forward, eyeing her back like it was a mountain he had to climb. So, how do I— Lotus lowered herself to the ground. Oh, that's helpful. Jasper scrambled up her leg, his tiny claws tickling through her fur. He made it to her back and grabbed 2 pawfuls of her scruff. Okay, I'm secure, I think. This is either going to be amazing, or I'm going to fall off, and you'll have to circle back for my tiny broken body. Lotus stood, testing his weight, barely noticeable, like carrying a particularly fluffy sock. Before we go, Jasper's voice was muffled against her fur. I just want to say, if I die tonight, it's been an honor serving as your criminal accomplice and relationship counselor. Also, you should know I hid my cheese stash in the 3rd floorboard from the left in your room. Give it to a good ferret. Someone who appreciates quality Swiss. Lotus huffed, the wolf equivalent of an eye roll, and headed for the door. She hit the porch at a trot, then opened into a full run once her paws touched dirt. The forest opened up before her, silver in the moonlight. Trees blurred past. The ground flew beneath her paws. "Holy cheese wheels!" Jasper's shriek nearly deafened her. His claws dug deeper into her scruff. "This is amazing! This is terrifying! Why are there so many trees? Watch the branch. Watch the... Okay, we're good. We're good. I'm good. Everything's fine. I'm definitely not going to have PTSD from this." Lotus dodged a fallen log, leaped a small creek, cut through a clearing where rabbits scattered in panic. "We're going so fast!" Jasper's voice pitched higher. "Is this what wolves do for fun? Because I feel like this should require a waiver and safety equipment. Where's my tiny helmet?" The edge of the forest materialized ahead, the trees thinning, moonlight giving way to the glow of distant highway lights. Lotus slowed to a lope, then a trot, finally stopping at the tree line where asphalt met grass. "We're alive!" Jasper's voice sounded shaky. "I'm alive. You're alive. My cheese dreams live on." He released her scruff slowly. "That was either the best or worst experience of my life. I'll let you know once my heart rate drops below hummingbird levels." Lotus set the tote bag down and shifted back. The change came easier this time, faster. Within seconds, she was human again, pulling her clothes from the bag. "Still processing trauma," Jasper announced, facing away. "Still not looking." "I'm dressed. Phone." Jasper turned around, then scampered toward West's jeans pocket. Lotus held the phone while the ferret sniffed around the screen. "Passcode," Jasper muttered. 4 digits. He smells like fire and smoke and got it. His tiny nose booped the screen 4 times. "Birth year. Very original, West." The phone unlocked. Contacts. Jasper scrolled with his nose. Aaron, no. Beth, no. Carlos, still no. Dan, there. Beta Dan, that's the one. Call him. Lotus hit the call button and put it on speaker. It rang twice before a rough voice answered. "West? Where the hell have you been? Did you get the..." "This isn't West," Lotus said. "This is someone else. West is hurt. He needs help." Silence. Then, "Who is this? Where's West?" "He got poisoned. Hemlock Crown. He's stable now, but he needs his pack." Lotus looked at Jasper, who nodded encouragingly. "Can you locate this phone?" "There's a Find My Friend function." "I don't have access to that feature," Dan said, his voice sharpening. "Tell me where you are, now." Jasper leaned closer to the phone. "Okay, Dan, Big Dan, Beta Dan, listen carefully because I'm only going to explain this once. We're at West's cabin, the one he goes to when he needs to brood mysteriously and retrieve stolen property without involving the pack. You know the one. We have many cabins at several places across the country." Jasper rolled his eyes. "Don't know the name. Here's what I do know. We're in a forest. There are trees, so many trees, like an unreasonable number of trees. Some are pine, some are not pine. There's a dirt road that'll murder your suspension. The cabin looks like a health code violation from outside, but inside it's surprisingly tasteful. Excellent book collection, by the way." We drove northwest from the Silvercrest Pack Estate for approximately 37 minutes before turning onto said terrible dirt road. The van has crashed into a fence, leaking what I assume is gasoline or possibly the van's life force. "Coburg Forest," Dan said flatly. "You're describing the Coburg Forest cabin. See, that wasn't so hard." Jasper's tail swished. "Coburg Forest. Finally. Took us long enough. Bring medical supplies, and maybe snacks. It's been a very stressful evening." "We'll be there in 40 minutes. Do not move him. Do not..." Dan's voice sharpened. "Who is this? Who am I talking to?" "A concerned ferret citizen," Jasper said. "And his human companion. We'll be at the cabin. Hurry up, Dan." Lotus ended the call before Dan could ask more questions. "Smooth," Jasper said. "Very mysterious. Very dramatic. He definitely thinks we're suspicious." "We are suspicious." Lotus handed the phone back to Jasper. "Let's go. 40 minutes isn't long." The run back felt faster. Maybe because Lotus knew where she was going. Maybe because her wolf was still purring mate and making her feel like she could run forever. Jasper only screamed twice. They burst through the cabin door, and Lotus shifted back, pulling on clothes while Jasper determinedly studied the bookshelf. West was exactly where they'd left him, still unconscious on the rug. His breathing was deep and even, his color better. Lotus knelt beside him, checking his pulse one more time. The moment her fingers touched his wrist, his eyes opened. She jerked backward, her heart jumping into her throat. West's eyes were unfocused, still dilated from the poison, but they tracked her movement. He tried to lift his head, failed, let it fall back to the rug. "Stay still." Lotus reached for the suppressant bracelet, fumbling with the clasp. "Your pack's coming. You're going to be fine." His gaze sharpened slightly, fixing on her face, on her eyes. "He saw," her wolf whispered. "He saw us without the suppressant." Lotus snapped the bracelet back on. The familiar dampening washed over her, muffling her wolf's voice to a whisper. The world dulled again, colors fading, senses retreating. West's hand moved, slow and shaky, reaching toward her. "Rest," Lotus said, catching his hand and lowering it gently back to his chest. "Don't try to talk. You're still weak." His eyes drifted closed again, his breathing evening out. But she had the distinct, uncomfortable feeling that he'd seen more than she wanted. That when he woke up properly, there would be questions she wasn't ready to answer. "His pack will be here soon," Jasper said from somewhere near her knee. "What's the plan? Do we stay? Do we run? Do we pretend this never happened and flee into the night like mysterious anti-heroes?" Lotus looked down at West's unconscious form, at the chest that was now poison-free and healing, at the face that her wolf had marked as mate. "We run," she said quietly. "Good choice." Jasper climbed onto her shoulder. "I vote we run very far and very fast." But as Lotus stood, her wolf's voice cut through the suppressant's dampening, clear as crystal. "We'll come back." And somehow Lotus knew she was right. Chapter 3. West woke to the scent of honey and vanilla. His eyes opened slowly, the cabin ceiling swimming into focus above him. Wood beams, soft lamplight, the stone fireplace throwing shadows across the walls, and that scent, sweet and warm, like someone had dripped gold into his lungs. "Mate." His wolf's voice crashed through his consciousness, loud and absolute and utterly certain. "Mate. Mate. Mate." West tried to sit up. His body protested, muscles shaking like he'd run a marathon. The poison had done a number on him. He remembered the scratch, the spreading darkness, the way his mind had started to blur and fragment. But his wolf hadn't been confused, not for a second. His wolf had been awake the entire time, watching through the fog of poison while West's body failed. Watching her, the woman with dark hair and careful hands, the one who'd glowed like bottled sunlight when she'd pressed her palms to his chest and burned the poison away. Lotus. West managed to push himself upright, his arms trembling with the effort. The cabin spun once, then settled. He'd seen her face for maybe 3 seconds before she'd fled, just long enough to catch the amber glow in her eyes, the way her wolf had looked back at him without the suppressant dulling everything. Long enough for his wolf to mark her, long enough to know she was already gone. The front door burst open. "West!" Dan filled the doorway, all 6'4" of him blocking out the moonlight. His beta's eyes scanned the room, landing on West, sitting on the floor. "You look like death." "Feel like it too." West's voice came out rough, scraped raw. "How'd you find me?" "Your phone. Some woman called." Dan crossed the room in 3 strides, crouching beside West. His nostrils flared, scenting for injury. "And someone who sounded like a man but had the voice of a cartoon character. What the hell happened?" West almost laughed. "That was Jasper, the ferret." "The what?" "Talking ferret. White fur. Knows ferret foo. It's a whole thing." Dan sat back on his heels, his expression caught between concern and exasperation. "You hit your head?" "Hemlock crown." West gestured to where the scratch had been on his hand. The skin was smooth now, completely healed. "Got poisoned during the retrieval. Lotus fixed me." "Lotus?" Dan's eyebrows rose. "The woman who called?" "Staff at the Silvercrest mansion." The lie came easily, smooth as silk. West didn't know why he was lying, only that his wolf snarled at the thought of telling Dan the truth, that she'd been locked in a basement, that she'd run the moment she was free, that everything about her screamed secret and danger, and mine. I tripped the alarm on my way in. She caught me on my way out. Had to take her with me when I bolted. Dan's eyes narrowed. And she just happened to have the skills to cure hemlock crown poisoning? Lucky for me. Uh-huh. Dan didn't look convinced. Where is she now? Gone. Took off while I was unconscious. West pushed to his feet, swaying slightly. Dan caught his elbow, steadying him. Did you come alone? You think I'm an idiot? Dan's grip tightened. This location, the timing, the fact that you didn't want comms. I know a solo op when I see one. Pac doesn't need to know about your break-ins. Relief washed through West's chest. Dan was more than his beta, had been his best friend since they were 15, getting into trouble and out of it with equal enthusiasm. Dan understood the things West couldn't say out loud, like how some missions were better kept quiet, like how losing someone changed you in ways that didn't heal clean. Did you get it? Dan asked. The stone? West shook his head. Okay, we'll sort that out later. Now let's get you home before you fall over. Dan steered him toward the door. You can explain the talking ferret in the car. The drive back took an hour. Dan's truck ate up the dark highway while West leaned against the passenger window, watching trees blur past. His wolf paced restlessly, searching for a scent that wasn't there anymore. Mate, his wolf insisted. Find her. Go back. Find... You're quiet, Dan said, breaking the silence. Tired. Bullshit. You're brooding. I can hear you brooding from here. Dan glanced at him, then back to the road. Talk to me about Silvercrest. What's your interest? You said you'd do some research on them. What did you find? West shook his head. Something's off about their operation. Off how? They've got tight connections with some packs in Asia. Real tight. But they don't seem to do any actual business. No trade agreements, no territorial partnerships, no political alliances that make sense. They're hiding something. Dan drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. You think they're trafficking? Maybe, or something worse. West hesitated. Can you dig into their personnel? See if they have kids, anyone who'd need a private tutor or live-in staff. You think your mysterious Lotus was a tutor? I think she was something. The lie tasted wrong, but West kept his expression neutral. Just check. Don't need to check. Dan merged onto the highway leading back to Packlands. Silvercrest Alpha doesn't have offspring. No kids means no nannies, no tutors, no live-in anything. West's wolf stirred uneasily. You're sure? Did my homework on them last year when they tried to poach our southern territory. Alpha Silvercrest, Marcus Silvercrest. First wife died 30 years ago. No children from that marriage. He remarried about a decade ago, some woman from a mountain pack. Pack was so small it never registered in official records. West pulled out his phone, typing one-handed. Marcus Silvercrest. Offspring. Family structure. The search results came back clean. Too clean. No birth records. No school enrollments. No medical files. Nothing that suggested children in the household. But Lotus had been there, locked in a basement with biometric scanners and a talking ferret who could pick locks. Not staff, not a tutor. Prisoner. His wolf snarled, clawing at his ribs. You smell weird, Dan said. West looked up from his phone. What? You smell weird. Dan's nose wrinkled. Like, I don't know, different. Sweeter, maybe. Did the poison mess with your scent? Probably. Because you smell kind of like... Dan's eyes widened. His head whipped toward West so fast he almost swerved. Holy shit, you smell like mate. West's jaw tightened. Drive. You smell like mate. Dan's voice went up an octave. West, buddy, friend of my heart, light of my beta existence. Did that woman... Drive the truck, Dan. Is this why you're lying about her being staff? Dan was grinning now, wide and delighted. Is this why you're suddenly super interested in Silvercrest Pack personnel? Because your wolf marks some mysterious woman who can cure deadly poison and has a talking ferret? I said drive. This is the best day of my life. This is better than when you fell off the roof during that training exercise. This is better than when you accidentally shifted in front of the mayor. Dan was laughing now, his shoulders shaking. Does she know? Did you tell her? Did you do that thing where you try to be all stoic and alpha and She ran, West said quietly. Dan's laughter cut off. What? She ran. The second I was stable, she took off. West stared out the window. She doesn't want to be found. Silence filled the truck. Dan's hands tightened on the steering wheel, his expression sobering. But you're going to find her anyway, Dan said. Yeah. Because she's your mate? Yeah. And because she was locked in that basement against her will, and you're an idiot with a hero complex who can't leave well enough alone. West's mouth twitched. That too. Dan sighed, long and dramatic. Fine, I'll help, but you owe me. Big time. Like name my firstborn after you level of owing. Deal. Also, I'm telling everyone about the talking ferret. That part's not classified. Fair. They drove in silence for a few miles. West's wolf had settled slightly, satisfied that they had a plan. Find her, protect her, figure out why Silvercrest had kept her locked up and make them regret it. Simple. West? Dan's voice was quieter now, serious. Yeah? The stone. You said you didn't need it for power. Dan glanced at him. What did you need it for? My grandmother's stone. The pack stone that had been in my family for 6 generations before Silvercrest took it. My father thought he was responsible for losing the stone. Dan nodded. Your father 1-year anniversary coming. You want him to have it? Wes swallowed a lump in his throat. Had I known earlier, he wouldn't die thinking he has lost the family treasure. It's been a year, Dan said softly. Maybe it's time to let it go. Wes didn't answer, because Dan wasn't talking about the stone anymore. They both knew it. But I get it, Dan continued. You need time, process, however you need to process. I'm not going to push. Thanks. Though for the record, finding your fated mate might be the universe's way of saying it's time to move forward. West huffed a laugh. The universe has terrible timing. The universe has hilarious timing. Dan grinned. Just wait until the pack finds out. They're going to lose their minds, especially when they meet the ferret. Nobody's meeting the ferret. Nobody's meeting anyone until I figure out what the hell is going on. Sure, very mysterious. Dan's grin widened. I'm going to kidnap that ferret. West shook his head, but he was almost smiling. Just drive, Dan. Driving. Definitely driving. Not at all planning to tell everyone about this. Dan. What? I'm your beta. It's my job to spread gossip and undermine your authority. Pack Handbook, page 1. There is no Pack Handbook. Should be. I'd write an excellent Pack Handbook. Chapter 1. How to support your alpha when he falls for a mysterious woman with magic powers and a martial arts ferret. Despite everything, the poison, the exhaustion, the empty ache where his mate's scent should be, West laughed. Dan shot him a satisfied look and turned up the radio. They'd figure it out. They always did. But first, Wes needed to heal. And then he needed to find a woman named Lotus who didn't want to be found. His wolf settled into watchful patience, certain of only one thing. She'd marked him. He'd marked her. The rest was just details. Chapter 4. The forest had no logic. Lotus picked her way through undergrowth that grabbed at her ankles, ducked under branches that seemed designed to catch hair, and tried not to think about how badly lost they were. Left, her wolf whispered. Lotus turned left. Are we following actual directions or just vibes? Jasper clung to her shoulder, his tiny claws digging in with each step. Because I'm getting strong lost in the woods, eaten by bears vibes. Very strong. Overwhelming even. We're following my instinct. Lotus pushed aside a low-hanging branch, wincing as it snapped back. Your instinct, right. The same instinct that said, let's escape through a basement, and sure, let's trust the burglar with the van. Jasper's tail swished against her neck. How's that working out? We're alive. Barely. And that's a low bar, Lotus. Very low. But her wolf knew where to go. Had known since that vision 3 months ago. The one where soft hands had touched her face and a voice like honey over stone had whispered, break free. Your gift is wasted behind walls. The healer who'd blessed her. The one who'd died before Lotus was born, but whose power had somehow threaded through bloodlines to settle in Lotus's palms. Her father had called it a curse. A target on her back. a reason to build higher walls and thicker doors. The healer had called it purpose. Lotus followed the pull in her chest, north and slightly east, toward something she couldn't name but recognized anyway. "Oh, good, we're heading toward a road." Jasper's ears perked up. "I hear trucks, large trucks, possibly trucks with heating and snacks." The trees thinned ahead, revealing a 2-lane highway cutting through the forest. A semi-truck rumbled past, its engine roaring. Perfect. Lotus crouched at the tree line, watching the road. "We need a ride." "Hitchhiking, excellent, very safe. Not at all how horror movies start." Jasper's whiskers twitched. "What's the plan? Stick out your thumb and hope for the best?" "Something like that." Another truck approached, this one moving slower, gears grinding as it navigated a curve. The back was open, metal sides revealing movement inside. Cattle. "No!" Jasper's voice went up an octave. "Absolutely not. I know that look." "That's your terrible idea look." "It's our only option." "It's a cattle truck, Lotus. Full of cows, large hoofed animals who don't appreciate ferrets and definitely don't appreciate random women climbing into their transportation." The truck slowed further for a pothole. Lotus ran. Her feet hit pavement, then gravel. Then she was grabbing the truck's tailgate and hauling herself up. The cattle shifted, their massive bodies swaying with the truck's movement. The smell hit her like a wall, manure and hay and something distinctly bovine. "This is the worst plan," Jasper shrieked as Lotus scrambled over the tailgate. "This is worse than the basement, worse than the van. This is... oh God, they're looking at us." 6 pairs of large, placid eyes turned toward them. Lotus pressed herself against the truck's side, trying to look small and non-threatening. The cattle returned to their swaying, uninterested. "Okay." Jasper climbed down from her shoulder, surveying the truck bed. "Okay, we're in a cattle truck. This is happening. I'm going to need therapy after this. Expensive therapy." One of the cows, a massive brown and white thing, shifted its weight, nearly stepping on Jasper. The ferret squeaked and scrambled backward. "Excuse you, personal space. Haven't you heard of personal—" The cow mooed, low and rumbling. Jasper froze. His whiskers quivered. Then slowly, he made a sound that was half chirp, half squeak. The cow's ear flicked. Jasper chirped again, this time adding what sounded like a warble. The cow mooed back, softer. "Are you—" Lotus stared at him. "Are you speaking cow?" "I speak some cow. Not fluently, more like conversational cow, tourist cow." Jasper chirped again, then gestured with a paw. "I'm explaining we need a clean spot to hide. She's being very reasonable about it." The cow shifted, deliberately moving her massive bulk to create a space near the truck's side. "See?" Jasper hopped into the cleared spot, somehow looking smug. "Diplomacy. It's all about respect and communication, and knowing enough barnyard languages to negotiate real estate." Lotus wedged herself into the space, her back against the cool metal. The truck rumbled beneath them, eating up highway miles. She could feel her father's pack somewhere behind them, a distant pressure like storm clouds gathering. They'd figured out she was gone by now. They'd be looking. But they'd be looking for a girl in a mansion, not a girl in a cattle truck surrounded by cows who'd agreed to share their transportation. "How long do we ride this thing?" Jasper settled onto her thigh, his tiny body warm. "Until it stops somewhere useful." "Useful, right, because cattle trucks are known for their convenient tourist destinations." Jasper's whiskers drooped. "Wake me when we reach civilization. Or cheese, preferably cheese." The truck drove for 2 hours before pulling into a rest stop. Lotus felt the deceleration, heard the air brakes hiss. The driver's door opened and slammed shut. Footsteps crunching on gravel, heading toward the building. "Now," she whispered. Jasper was already moving, scaling the truck's side with the efficiency of a professional escape artist. He disappeared over the edge. Lotus followed, dropping to the ground and pressing herself against the truck's shadow. The rest stop was small, a single building with restrooms and vending machines, a few picnic tables, and a parking lot that held maybe 6 vehicles. "I see the driver." Jasper's nose twitched, pointing toward the building. "He's inside. Probably coffee and dubious bathroom facilities." "Can you get his phone?" "Can I?" Jasper looked personally offended. I'm the magnificent Jasper, master of ferret foo, champion of— Yes, I can get his phone. What kind of question is that? He scampered toward the building, white fur practically glowing in the morning sun. Lotus waited, counting heartbeats. Her wolf paced restlessly, still pulling her north, still whispering about mate and safety, and running back to the cabin where West's scent lingered. She shoved the thoughts down. The suppressant bracelet hummed against her wrist, a constant reminder to stay hidden, stay small, stay safe. 5 minutes, then 10. Jasper emerged from the building, triumphant, dragging a phone twice his size. Got it. Guard your technology better, truck driver. Very irresponsible. Lotus grabbed the phone, thumbing it open. No passcode. Rookie mistake. She pulled up the browser, typed with shaking fingers. Supernatural Sanctuary, Blue Mountains. The results loaded slowly. She scrolled past tourist sites and hiking trails until Kangri Sanctuary, a haven for those who don't fit, not Kangri. Kangri, one letter off. The website was basic, just an address, a phone number, and a single line. Safe harbor for all beings. No questions asked. That's it? Lotus screenshot the address, then deleted the browser history. Kangri Sanctuary, about 40 miles north. North, of course it's north. Jasper grabbed the phone, dragging it back toward the building. Everything's north. Why is nothing ever south? South has lovely weather. He returned 3 minutes later, panting. Replaced. Driver doesn't suspect a thing. My criminal career is flourishing. They hitched another ride, this time in the back of a produce truck that smelled like strawberries and diesel. Then a short walk along a rural road, then finally, blessedly, the edge of a small town that sat at the base of rolling, tree-covered mountains. The Kangri Sanctuary was supposedly nestled somewhere in that wilderness. But first, food, Jasper announced. I smell food, real food, not cow food, people food. A small cafe sat at the town's edge, right where the road gave way to bushland. Hand-painted sign, mismatched chairs on the porch, the kind of place that probably served the same 5 items for the last 20 years. Lotus's stomach growled so loudly that Jasper jumped. Okay, we're stopping. The ferret was already heading toward the cafe. No arguments. My human needs sustenance, and I need to restore my faith in civilization after the cattle truck incident. The cafe was warm and smelled like bacon and coffee. A handful of locals occupied the tables, their conversation pausing as Lotus stepped inside. She kept her head down, Jasper hidden in her jacket. A waitress looked up from behind the counter. Older woman, kind eyes, the kind of face that had seen things and decided to be gentle anyway. Sit anywhere, hun. Menu's on the board. Lotus slid into a corner booth, her back to the wall. She ordered coffee and toast. Cheap, fast, wouldn't draw attention. This is progress, Jasper whispered from her lap. We're in a building, with chairs, and non-cow inhabitants. I'm very proud of us. The coffee arrived. Lotus wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat sink into her palms. Her wolf had quieted slightly, satisfied they were moving in the right direction. North. Always north. Toward Sanctuary, toward— A woman at the counter gasped. Her coffee mug hit the floor, shattering. She grabbed her chest, her face going pale, then gray. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The cafe froze. Martha! The waitress rushed around the counter. Someone call— The woman collapsed, just folded like her bones had turned to water, hitting the floor hard. Lotus was moving before she made the conscious decision. Her body knew what to do, had known since that first vision, since her palms had started glowing at age 6 and her father had locked all the doors. Lotus, no. Jasper's voice was desperate, tiny paws grabbing her jacket. Don't, please don't. Don't use your magic. They'll see. They'll know. She's dying of Jasper. And we'll die if they find us. Jasper's claws dug in. This is exactly what he warned about. This is why we had to stay hidden. You can't save everyone. I can save her. Lotus dropped to her knees beside the woman. Heart attack. She could smell it. The chemical wrongness, the stuttering beat, the body trying to shut down. Someone was shouting about ambulances, someone else about CPR. The waitress knelt on the woman's other side, her hands shaking. Excuse me. A small voice, very polite, very ferret-shaped. The waitress looked down. Jasper sat on his haunches, whiskers twitching with what might have been his most diplomatic expression. My human has medical training, very specialized training, but she needs privacy and a room, preferably at the back, away from eyes and questions and... Jasper's voice shifted, going softer. Please, she can help, but not like this, not with everyone watching. The waitress stared at the talking ferret, then at Lotus, then at Martha, whose lips were turning blue. Back room. She stood, decisive. Tom Gregg, help me. Get her to the back room. Everyone else, out. Now. This is private. Two men moved, lifting Martha carefully. The waitress cleared a path, ushering customers toward the door with the efficiency of someone who'd managed chaos before. Lotus followed them into a small storage room that smelled like flour and coffee beans. They laid Martha on the floor, then backed away, giving space. I need light, Lotus said. Someone turned on the overhead bulb. More. Another light, then another. The room brightened, harsh and clinical. Lotus placed her palms on Martha's chest and pulled. The light came easier this time, maybe because she'd already used it tonight, channels still open and ready. Maybe because Martha was close to death and Lotus's gift recognized emergency. Golden light spilled from her hands, sinking into Martha's skin. Lotus followed the threads of wrongness, the blocked artery, the struggling heart, the chemical cascade trying to kill from the inside. She burned through it all, cleared the blockage, strengthened the heart, pushed oxygen back into starving tissue. The light intensified, bright enough that people gasped, but Lotus didn't look up. Couldn't. Her entire focus narrowed to the life flickering under her palms. Martha's heart stuttered, then steadied, then beat, strong and regular. Color returned to her face, her breathing evened out. Her eyes fluttered open. Am I... Martha's voice cracked. What? You're okay. Lotus pulled her hands back, the light winking out. Heart attack. You're stable now, but you need a hospital. This is just first aid. Martha stared at her, then at her own chest, where moments ago she'd been dying. You... how... Doesn't matter. The waitress's voice cut through, firm. She looked at Lotus, then deliberately looked away. You were lucky. That's all. Lucky someone knew CPR. That wasn't... lucky, the waitress repeated harder. Her eyes met Lotus's. Understanding passed between them. I saw. I won't tell. Get out before someone else does. Lotus stood, swaying. The healing had taken more than she'd expected, or maybe she was just exhausted. Running on nothing for too long, her body finally registering protest. We should go, Jasper said quietly. Not yet. The waitress moved to a shelf, pulling down a paper bag. She filled it quickly, sandwiches, fruit, water bottles. Take this. The sanctuary's about 5 miles in. Trail starts behind the cafe. Follow the markers. They're white stones with blue paint. Don't stray from the path. Thank you. Lotus took the bag, her throat tight. Thank you. The waitress pressed a hand to Lotus's arm, brief and warm. Whatever you are, wherever you're running from, you did good here today. Martha has grandkids. They get to keep their grandmother because of you. Lotus nodded, not trusting her voice. They slipped out the back door, into bushland that rose toward mountains. The trail was barely visible, just a suggestion of worn earth and those white stones, their blue paint faded but present. That was stupid, Jasper said after 10 minutes of walking. He rode her shoulder, tail wrapped around her neck for balance. That was incredibly, monumentally stupid. I know. Your father's going to find us faster now. They track light magic. You know they do. I know. We could have just kept walking, let the ambulance handle it. She would have died before the ambulance arrived. Lotus ducked under a branch. You saw her. I smelled it. Jasper was quiet for a long moment. Then, yeah, I saw. The forest thickened around them. Old growth trees that had probably stood for centuries, their canopy blocking out most of the sun. The air smelled green and alive, nothing like the manicured gardens of her father's estate. Her wolf settled, finally quiet. This felt right. This felt... 3 figures stepped onto the path ahead. Lotus stopped so fast Jasper tumbled forward, catching himself on her collar. The figures resolved into people, men. Shifters. She could smell it even through the suppressant's dampening. Their eyes reflected the dim forest light, wolf-bright and predatory. One stepped forward, tall, lean, with a smile that made Lotus's skin crawl. "Well," his voice was smooth, practiced. "What do we have here?" "Little lost lamb all alone in the woods." Lotus's wolf snarled, throwing itself against the suppressant's barriers. She knew. The instant she saw them, she knew. These were the kind her father had warned about. The rogues who hunted the vulnerable. The ones who saw lone shifters as prey, especially females, especially ones who looked as defenseless as Lotus probably did right now. This was why he'd built the walls. This was why he'd locked the doors. To protect her from wolves who wore human faces and saw opportunity in isolation. "Back away," Lotus said, her voice steadier than she felt. The man's smile widened. "Or what?" Jasper's tiny body tensed against her neck. "Lotus, multiple hostiles, poor tactical position, recommend immediate—" "Retreat isn't an option," she whispered. The three men moved closer, spreading out to block the path. And somewhere in the back of Lotus's mind, her wolf howled for a mate who was miles away and couldn't possibly hear. Chapter 5. West's wolf was 3 seconds from tearing through his skin. "Still nothing?" Dan's voice cut through the static in West's head, the constant roar of mate, find her, find her. "Nothing." West's hands shook as he scrolled through his phone for the 100th time. Search results, maps, satellite images, all useless. The sanctuary doesn't exist. It's not on any registry, any map, any— Your wolf still pointing the same direction? West closed his eyes, feeling the pull in his chest like a fishhook lodged behind his sternum. North, always north, toward the mountains that rose like broken teeth against the horizon. "Yeah, but there's nothing there, just—" He gestured at the endless forest stretching in every direction. "Trees. More damn trees." They'd been searching for 8 hours. 8 hours of driving in expanding circles, checking trails, following his wolf's increasingly frantic directions. The sun was starting to sink toward the horizon, painting everything gold and red. Mate was out there, somewhere, and he couldn't find her. Dan's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then started ringing with the tone he'd assigned to their intelligence network. "Talk to me," Dan answered, putting it on speaker. "We've got movement." The voice belonged to Riley, one of their border patrol who also freelanced in information gathering. "Rogue pack, 6 strong, traveling fast through the mountain ranges near Coburg. Spotted about 40 minutes ago." West's wolf surged. And they're not alone. Got a blurry image from a trail cam. Looks like they've got someone restrained. Female, dark hair. A pause. "Sending the photo now." Dan's phone pinged. He pulled up the image. West's world stopped. Lotus. The photo was grainy, taken from distance, but he'd know her anywhere. Her hands were bound behind her back. One of the rogues had a grip on her arm, dragging her forward. Her face was turned away from the camera, but her posture screamed defiance, even through the restraints. Something in West's chest didn't just crack, it shattered. His wolf exploded forward, slamming against his control with enough force to make his vision flicker. Gold bled into the edges of everything. His bones started to shift, joints popping, skin stretching. The steering wheel creaked under his suddenly clawed grip. "West!" Dan's hand clamped on his shoulder, hard enough to bruise. "Stay with me. Don't shift. Not yet." "They have her." West's voice came out wrong, half human, half growl, scraped raw. "They're hurting her. I can feel—" "I know, but we need a plan." Dan's grip tightened, his own wolf rising to meet West's, forcing calm through the bond. "Riley, where are they heading?" "North-northeast, following the old mining trails. Based on trajectory, probably the abandoned ranger station near Silver Peak. Remote, defensible, good place to hole up." "How far?" 2 hours if you push it. Maybe less if you don't care about traffic laws." "We're moving." West was already out of the truck before he consciously decided to move. His wolf was howling, scraping at his insides, demanding blood and violence and mate safe now. Dan jogged after him, keys jingling. "West, we need backup. 6 rogues is manageable, but if they're expecting trouble, call the pack." West yanked open the driver's door. "I can't." Dan climbed into the passenger seat as West started the engine. The truck roared to life. "You're a new alpha, 18 months in position. More than half the elders still think you're too young, too impulsive. They barely approved your last border expansion." Dan's jaw clenched. "You think they'll commit pack resources to rescue a woman they've never met? They'll want council approval, proper channels, consensus building, all the political bullshit that takes days we don't have." West's hands strangled the steering wheel. The leather creaked. "Then what? We go in alone?" "No, we hire contractors." Dan was already scrolling through contacts. "Mercenaries, not great, but they'll fight for money and they don't ask questions." "How many can you get?" "On short notice? Maybe 8 if we're lucky. 10 if we're not picky about quality. 8 fighters plus him and Dan against 6 rogues who'd already proven they were willing to kidnap a woman in broad daylight. Who'd tied her up and dragged her through the mountains like prey. The math wasn't good. West's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his wolf's hackles rose. Marcus Silvercrest. He punched the answer button, stabbing it to speaker. "What? Where is Lotus?" Marcus's voice was cold fury wrapped in alpha command, the kind of tone designed to make lesser wolves bare their throats. "I saw the security footage from 3 nights ago. You were there. She jumped." West's words came out clipped, controlled only by the thinnest thread of sanity. "She was escaping your prison and I gave her a ride. Jumped out of the frying pan into the fire, but she shouldn't have had to jump at all if you hadn't locked her in a goddamn basement." Silence crackled over the line like static electricity before a storm. "You don't understand," Marcus said finally, his voice fracturing around the edges. "I kept her inside to protect her." "Protect her from what? The world?" West's laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. "Are you protecting her or your secret? Who is she to you? Slave? And I dare not ask which kind. She's my daughter." The words fell into the truck like stones into deep water. Silence. West and Dan looked at each other. Dan's eyebrows had disappeared into his hairline. "Come again?" West's voice came out flat, dangerous. "I have no reason to lie. She is my daughter, and I will pay any price to get her back." Marcus's voice steadied, taking on the weight of absolute truth. "Whatever reason you had to take her, I will make it worth your while. Name your price." "I do not have her." West's hands clenched so hard the steering wheel cracked. "In fact, we just got intel she's been captured by rogue mercenaries. If you want to pay ransom, pay them." Silence from Marcus's end, long enough that West thought the call had dropped. Then, "They won't want money, West." Marcus's voice went hollow, haunted. "I wouldn't keep her hidden from the world if money could buy her freedom." West's wolf snarled. "What are you talking about? What the—" "You know, West. Think." And suddenly he did know. The pieces clicked together with horrifying clarity. The light magic, the healing, the way she'd glowed like bottled sunlight when she'd saved his life. Magic, her light magic. The words tumbled out through numb lips. "Money can't buy that. They won't even ask for ransom. They're asking for bloodshed." "Or worse," Marcus's voice cracked. "There are packs who'd pay fortunes for a healer, who'd chain her up and use her until there's nothing left. Who'd— Beta Dan here." Dan leaned toward the phone, his voice cutting through Marcus's spiral. "We need your men, Alpha Marcus. Our pack wouldn't support this. We can hire mercenaries, but they won't be as efficient as pack members." Another beat passed. West could hear Marcus breathing on the other end, harsh, controlled, like a man drowning and fighting for air. "How many rogues?" 6 to 8, Dan said. "Go to Rockview Overlook in 15 minutes. You'll have 30 Silvercrest wolves." Marcus's voice turned to steel. "I can't be there, but bring her home, and I'll owe you a life debt." "I'll take it from here." West ended the call before Marcus could say more. He punched the accelerator. The truck shot forward, tires squealing. Dan grabbed the oh-shit handle as West took a curve at twice the recommended speed. "Rockview is 10 minutes out," Dan said, pulling up GPS. "If we're lucky, we hit the ranger station in under 2 hours. We'll be lucky." West's voice didn't sound like his own anymore. Too rough, too close to the edge. "Because if we're not, if they hurt her, if they won't." Dan's voice was firm. "We'll get there in time, we'll get her out. And if we don't, then God help them, because you won't. West's smile was all teeth and violence. Damn right. Rockview Overlook materialized through the trees, a wide pull-off that tourists used for scenic mountain photos. But there were no tourists now. Just 30 shifters arranged in loose formation, backlit by the dying sun. West killed the engine and climbed out. A massive man stepped forward. Late 30s, scarred face, the kind of build that came from winning more fights than he'd lost. Alpha West, I'm Garrett, Silvercrest's head of security. He paused. Former head of security, as of about 20 minutes ago. What happened? Dan moved to West's right, classic beta positioning. Marcus told the pack about Lotus, about keeping her hidden for 30 years, about the basement, and the biometric locks, and the lies. Garrett's jaw clenched. They stripped his alpha title, demanded his resignation. He gave it without a fight, but he asked for 5 hours. And you came anyway? West asked. We're here for Lotus, and in 5 hours he's our alpha. I respect him, and that is enough for me to fight for him. Garrett's eyes held something fierce and protective. She's one of ours, even if we didn't know she existed until now. He gestured to the assembled wolves. So yeah, we're here to bring her home. West studied the 30 fighters. Some looked angry, some looked guilty, all looked ready for violence. Silver Peak Ranger Station, West said, his voice carrying across the clearing. 6 rogues, possibly more. We go in fast, we get her out, we don't leave anyone standing who tries to stop us. Rules of engagement? Someone called from the back. West's eyes flashed gold. There are no rules. They took my mate. I don't care if they walk away from this. A ripple of savage approval moved through the group. Garrett nodded once, sharp. We follow your lead, Alpha. You've got the mate bond. You'll find her faster than any of us. West pulled out his phone, checking the map Riley had sent. The ranger station was 38 minutes away, up a deteriorating fire road that would murder his truck's suspension. He didn't care. Mount up, Garrett called to his fighters. We move now. The shifters dispersed toward a collection of trucks and SUVs that had been hidden in the tree line, serious vehicles with reinforced frames and blacked-out windows. The kind of trucks you used when you expected trouble. Dan leaned close as they headed back to their truck. 30 Silvercrest wolves. This could still be a trap. I know. West nodded. And we're going anyway? Yeah. West nodded again. Just checking. Dan climbed into the passenger seat. For the record, this is either brilliant or completely insane. Can't it be both? Fair point. West started the engine. Behind them, vehicles roared to life one by one. 30 fighters, plus him and Dan. 32 against 6. The math was better now. But his wolf wouldn't settle. Not until Lotus was safe. Not until he could see her, touch her, confirm she was alive and breathing in his. The convoy pulled out, engines rumbling like distant thunder. West led the way up the winding mountain road, his headlights cutting through the gathering darkness. The sun had fully set now, stars beginning to pierce through the deepening blue. His wolf pressed against his skin, counting down the distance like a countdown to detonation. 30 minutes, 25, 20. The world narrowed to headlights and asphalt and the pull in his chest that screamed closer, almost there. Find her. Dan's phone buzzed. Riley again. Says the rogues just went dark. No movement on the trail cams for the last 15 minutes. They're at the station. West's hands tightened on the wheel. Dug in, waiting. Or they moved her. No. West's wolf surged with absolute certainty. She's there. I can feel her. The ranger station materialized through the trees like something out of a horror movie. Ramshackle building, broken windows, sagging roof. A single vehicle parked out front. A van with tinted windows and mud-splattered sides. West killed the engine 200 yards out, coasting to a stop. Behind him, the convoy did the same, vehicles going dark one by one. Silence settled over the forest. Heavy, waiting. West's wolf caught her scent before his eyes confirmed it. Honey and vanilla, fear and defiance and mate. She was inside. Chapter 6. The silver chain burned where it touched Lotus's wrists. Not unbearable. Just a constant, low-grade sting that reminded her exactly how stupid this escape plan had been. Her hands were bound behind her back, secured with a lock the size of her fist. The blindfold pressed against her eyelids, turning the world into suffocating darkness. But her mind was clear as crystal, because fighting 6 rogues head-on would have been suicide. So she'd let them tie her up. Let them think she was helpless, compliant, broken. Let them make the fatal mistake of underestimating her. The silver would heal. She'd dealt with worse. Years of her father's protective measures had given her an impressive tolerance for discomfort. Father. The thought twisted something in her chest. He'd kept her locked inside for years because he was afraid of exactly this: rogues, chains, being sold to the highest bidder. But why couldn't he just tell her? Just explain the danger instead of building walls and biometric locks and making her feel like a prisoner instead of a daughter? Maybe he'd tried. Maybe the magic wouldn't let him, or maybe he'd just been too afraid to risk it. The van rocked as someone climbed in, their weight shifting the suspension. Lotus kept her breathing even, her posture slack, helpless, compliant. Not a threat. Footsteps moved away. A door slammed. Then silence. Lotus counted heartbeats. 100, 200. The silver chain continued its slow burn, but she could feel her wolf already working on the damage, knitting skin back together, even as the metal tried to poison it. Her wolf stirred, restless and agitated, still screaming about mate, still pulling towards something in the distance. West. She didn't know how, but she could feel him. Not close, but closer than he should be. Like a compass needle pointing north, her wolf kept insisting he was out there. Searching. Coming. "Don't be stupid," she told her wolf. "He barely knows us. We saved his life once. That doesn't mean—" Her wolf's response was simple and absolute. "Mate!" "Oh, shut up," Lotus muttered. "I didn't say anything," a tiny, indignant voice whispered near her ear. Lotus's heart jumped. "Jasper? The one and only. Also the only one dumb enough to follow you into a rogue kidnapping." Tiny claws scrabbled at the blindfold, yanking it down around her neck. "There. Better?" Lotus blinked against the sudden influx of dim light. She was in the back of the van, empty except for a few blankets and what looked like dried blood on the floor. Through the tinted windows, she could make out movement. The rogues had gathered around a fire, passing around something that smelled like meat and poor life choices. "How did you find me?" Lotus twisted, trying to see Jasper. Followed the van, hitched a ride on the undercarriage. Very action movie, very death-defying. Jasper appeared in front of her face, whiskers twitching. "Also, possibly the stupidest thing I've ever done, and I once tried to steal cheese from a mousetrap. On purpose, to prove a point." "The lock? Already on it." Jasper scurried behind her, his tiny claws tickling against her bound wrists. "This is a Master Lock Series 6271. Decent security, but no match for the magnificent Jasper, master of just open it. You're very demanding for someone tied up in a van." But metal scraped against metal, tumblers clicking. "There, done. I should charge for my services. Premium rates for kidnapping scenarios." The lock popped open. The chain slithered off Lotus's wrists. Lotus brought her hands forward, flexing her fingers. The silver had left angry red welts, but they were already fading. She rubbed her wrists, feeling sensation return in pins and needles. "Okay." Jasper hopped onto her shoulder. "Escape plan. I'm thinking we sneak out, run really fast, hide in a cave, and hope they don't notice we're gone until we're in another country." "No." Lotus moved to the front of the van, peering through the windshield. The rogues were 30 feet away, backs to the van, focused on their fire and whatever horror they were eating. "We're taking their van." Jasper's silence was deafening. Then, "I'm sorry, my tiny ferret ears must be broken, because I thought you just said we're stealing the kidnapper's vehicle." "We are. Lotus, light of my life, keeper of my cheese dreams. You crashed West's van into a fence. You've driven exactly once, for approximately 3 minutes, before everything went horribly wrong. This time will be different." "How? How will this be different? This van is bigger than West's van. It's a kidnapping van." Those probably have different controls. Special criminal controls! Lotus climbed into the driver's seat. The keys were in the ignition. Amateurs. Lotus examined the controls. Steering wheel, pedals, gear shift. Just like West's van. Probably. How hard can it be? Very hard. Driving is very hard. That's why there are licenses and tests and... Jasper grabbed her collar, his tiny paws desperate. Lotus, please, let's just run. Use our legs, the legs that work, the legs that won't crash us into trees. They'll chase us on foot. We'll never outrun them. Lotus turned the key. The engine roared to life. But in a van, we have a chance. We have a death wish is what we have. The rogue's head snapped toward the van. Oops, Lotus said. Oops, oops, Jasper's voice went up 3 octaves. That's not a plan, that's just... Lotus slammed her foot on what she hoped was the accelerator. The van shot backward, tires spitting gravel. She spun the wheel. The van pivoted, engine screaming. The rogues scattered, diving out of the way as 2 tons of metal barreled through their campsite. Wrong pedal, Jasper shrieked. That's reverse. We're going backward. I know. Lotus shifted gears, or tried to. The transmission made a sound like a cat being murdered. How do I go forward? I don't know. I'm a ferret. I don't have a license. The van lurched forward. Finally, the right direction. Lotus aimed for the dirt road, her hands white-knuckled on the wheel. Behind them, the rogues were running, shifting mid-stride, clothes tearing, bones cracking as wolves emerged. They're coming! Jasper clung to the dashboard, his tail wrapped around the rearview mirror. They're very angry. Understandably angry. We stole their van. Borrowed. Lotus took a curve too fast. The van tilted, 2 wheels lifting off the ground. We're borrowing it. We're dying in it. The dirt road gave way to something worse. Barely a trail, more like a suggestion of where a road might have been decades ago. Trees crowded close on both sides. The van's side mirror caught a branch and exploded in a shower of glass. My life is flashing before my eyes. Jasper's voice was muffled against the dashboard. It's very short, mostly cheese-related. This is how I die. A creek appeared ahead, shallow but wide, water glinting in the moonlight. Lotus didn't slow down. Water! Jasper screamed. That's water! Vans don't go in water! This one does. The van hit the creek at 40 miles per hour. Water exploded around them, drenching the windshield. The engine sputtered. Lotus's heart stopped. Then the van roared up the opposite bank, tires finding purchase, momentum carrying them forward. We're alive! Jasper's voice cracked. Why are we alive? That shouldn't have worked. Physics. That's not how physics works. The trail climbed, winding up the mountain range. Behind them, wolves were gaining ground. Lotus could see them in the remaining mirror. 6 sets of glowing eyes, getting closer with each second. They're catching up! Jasper pointed frantically. What's the plan? Do we have a plan? Please tell me we have a plan that isn't drive until we crash. Working on it. Ahead, the trail split around a massive boulder. Left path, narrow, tree-lined, probably led to certain death. Right path, even narrower, steeper, definitely led to certain death. Lotus went left. The van scraped against trees, paint peeling off in long strips. Branches slapped the windshield. Something underneath the van made a concerning grinding noise. That's the axle, Jasper announced. We just damaged the axle. That's important. Axles are very important. A wolf lunged at the driver's side, claws scraping against the door. Lotus swerved right, slamming the van into a tree. The wolf yelped and fell away. Stop using trees as weapons. It's working. It's destroying the van. The van is already stolen. Who cares? Me. I care. I'm in the stolen van. The trail opened up ahead, widening into a clearing. And beyond the clearing, Lotus's breath caught. A ravine, deep and dark, with a stream running through the bottom. Maybe 20 feet across, maybe more. Hard to tell in the darkness. And on the other side, her wolf surged forward, certain and absolute. Mate. Oh no. Jasper's voice went very small. Oh, no. Lotus, I know that look. That's your terrible idea look. Hold on. To what? There's nothing to hold on to. I'm a ferret. I have tiny paws. Lotus pressed the accelerator to the floor. The van's engine screamed in protest, 40 miles per hour, 50, 60. The ravine rushed toward them like an open mouth. "Lotus! Hold on!" The van hit the edge and launched into empty air. For one perfect, crystalline moment, they were flying. Suspended between earth and sky, gravity forgotten, the world holding its breath. Jasper was screaming. Or maybe that was the van's transmission. Or possibly Lotus's wolf, howling in triumph. Then gravity remembered its job. The van slammed into the far side of the ravine, front tires catching the edge. The back end swung wild, fishtailing. Lotus spun the wheel, fighting for control. They hit solid ground with a bone-jarring thud. The van skidded to a stop, engine smoking, front bumper half destroyed, but miraculously still running. Lotus's hands were shaking on the wheel. Her heart was trying to punch through her ribs. "We're alive," she whispered. "We're insane," Jasper corrected, his voice muffled from where he'd buried himself in the seat cushion. "Clinically, certifiably insane." Lotus looked up through the cracked windshield, and her world stopped. West stood 30 feet away, Dan at his side, surrounded by what looked like an entire pack of wolves, all of them frozen, staring at the smoking van that had just jumped a ravine. West's eyes were pure gold, not just rimmed with color, but completely transformed. His wolf was right there, pressed against his skin, barely contained. Behind the van, on the far side of the ravine, the 6 rogue wolves skidded to a halt. They took one look at West and 30 armed shifters, then turned around and ran, tails literally between their legs. Lotus sat in the smoking van, hands still gripping the wheel, and had absolutely no idea what to say. Jasper popped his head up from the seat cushion. "So, that happened." The passenger door was ripped open. Wes stood there, his chest heaving, his eyes still gold, his hands trembling with what looked like equal parts rage and relief. "You—" His voice came out more growl than words. "You jumped a ravine." "Yes?" Lotus's voice came out small. "In a stolen van. Borrowed. While being chased by 6 rogues." "I had help." Lotus gestured weakly at Jasper, who waved one tiny paw. Wes stared at her, then at the van, then at the ravine behind them. Then he started laughing. Not polite laughter. Not controlled alpha laughter. Full body, bend over, gasping for air laughter that made Dan look concerned and the assembled wolves take a step back. "You're insane," West finally managed, wiping his eyes. "You're completely, absolutely insane." "I've been told that recently, yes." Lotus tried to climb out of the van. Her legs didn't want to work. "Could you—" West caught her as she stumbled, his arms coming around her like steel bands. He pulled her against his chest, and suddenly Lotus couldn't tell if she was shaking or he was. "Don't ever—" his voice cracked. "Don't ever do that again." "Which part? The kidnapping or the van theft?" "Any of it. All of it." His hand came up to cup the back of her head, his fingers tangling in her hair. "When I saw that photo of you tied up, I'm fine. The silver hurt, but I heal fast." "Silver?" His voice went cold, deadly. "They used silver on you?" "It's already healed, see?" She held up her wrists where only faint pink lines remained. West's eyes flashed pure gold. "I'm going to hunt them down. Every single one. And I'm going to—" "They ran away," Dan interrupted, walking up with Jasper perched on his shoulder. "With their tails between their legs, which honestly was hilarious. I got video." "I performed excellently under pressure," Jasper announced. "My moral support was unparalleled, though for the record, I did try to talk her out of the van theft. Multiple times. I have witnesses." "You screamed the entire time," Lotus said. "That was strategic screaming, to let the enemies know we were coming. Very tactical." West was still holding Lotus, his arms locked around her like he'd never let go. His heart was hammering against her cheek, too fast, too hard. "You found me," she said quietly. "Always." His voice was rough. "My wolf wouldn't let me stop until I found you." "That's very dramatic. You jumped a ravine in a van." "Fair point." Behind them, someone cleared their throat. Garrett stepped forward, a smile tugging at his scarred face. Not to interrupt this touching reunion, but we should probably move. Those rogues might come back with friends. West nodded, but didn't release Lotus. Can you walk? I just drove a van through a creek and over a ravine. I think I can walk. That's not actually evidence of walking ability, Jasper pointed out. That's evidence of terrible decision-making skills. Says the ferret who followed me. I had no choice. You're my human. It's in my contract. There's no contract. There should be, with hazard pay. Lots of hazard pay. West finally released Lotus, but immediately caught her hand in his, threading their fingers together. The touch sent sparks up her arm, her wolf purring in satisfaction. They walked back toward the waiting vehicles, 30 Silvercrest wolves falling into formation around them, protective, careful, like she was something precious that needed guarding. So, Dan said, falling into step beside them. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your first car theft? 11, Jasper announced before Lotus could answer. Definitely an 11. Style points for the ravine jump. Deductions for my inevitable PTSD. Overall, solid 11. I'm never driving again, Lotus said. Thank God, Jasper and West said in unison. Then West squeezed her hand, and despite everything, the kidnapping, the silver chains, the absolutely insane van escape, Lotus felt something in her chest settle. Safe. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. Even if her wolf wouldn't shut up about Mate, even if she had no idea what happened next, even if the world was still hunting her, right now, in this moment, with West's hand in hers and Jasper's tiny weight on her shoulder, she was safe, and maybe that was enough. Chapter 7. The Silvercrest mansion looked different in the fading twilight. Lotus stood at the gate, West's hand warm in hers, and felt something twist in her chest. The estate stretched before them. Manicured lawns, elegant architecture, the fence that had kept her prisoner for 29 years. Home. Except it had never really been home. Just a beautiful cage with bulletproof windows and biometric locks. Her wolf stirred uneasily, pressing against her ribs. West's hand tightened around hers. You okay? I don't know. Lotus stared at the mansion, at the windows of her old room, at the garden where deadly hemlock crown grew in careful rows. Something feels wrong. Your wolf sensing danger? No, just wrong. Like something's ending. She looked up at him, at his eyes that still held traces of gold. Do you feel it? West's jaw tightened. He did feel it. She could see it in the way his shoulders tensed, the way his own wolf rose to meet hers through the mate bond that hummed between them like a live wire. We don't have to go in, he said quietly. We can leave. Right now. Just walk away. Lotus almost said yes, almost turned around and ran, like she'd been running her whole life. But her father was in there, and Elena, and answers to questions she'd been asking since she was 6 years old, and her palms had started glowing. No, I need to do this. She squeezed West's hand. But stay with me? Always. They walked through the gate together, Jasper perched on Lotus's shoulder with unusual silence. Even the ferret seemed to sense something heavy in the air. The front door opened before they reached it. Marcus stood in the doorway, backlit by warm interior lights. He looked older than Lotus remembered, or maybe she'd just never been allowed close enough to see the lines around his eyes, the silver threading through his dark hair. Lotus. Her name came out rough, broken around the edges. Then he was moving, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. His arms came around her, pulling her against his chest with a desperation that made her breath catch. He was shaking. Marcus Silvercrest, alpha of one of the strongest packs in the territory, was shaking as he held his daughter. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry for all of it. For the walls and the locks and the years. I thought if I kept you hidden, kept you safe behind the fence, that I could protect you. But all I did was trap you. Lotus's throat tightened. Her hands came up slowly, hesitantly, and wrapped around her father's back. How long had it been since she'd hugged him? Years. Maybe decades. The suppressant had always dulled everything, made even family feel distant and muffled. But now, without the chemical barrier, she could feel his wolf, old and tired, and weighted down with grief that had nothing to do with losing his alpha title. "Dad," she whispered, "what's wrong?" He didn't answer, just held her tighter, like he was memorizing the feeling. Elena appeared in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. She pressed a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. West moved closer, his presence solid at Lotus's back. "Alpha Marcus, what's happening?" Marcus finally released Lotus, stepping back but keeping his hands on her shoulders. His eyes were too bright, shining with unshed tears. "Promise me something, Alpha West." Marcus's voice steadied, taking on the weight of absolute command. "Promise me you'll take care of my daughter. No matter what happens, no matter what comes, you'll protect her." Ice slid down Lotus's spine. "Dad, why are you talking like, promise me?" Marcus's hands tightened on her shoulders. West stepped forward, placing himself beside Lotus. "I'll take care of her for the rest of my life. That's not a promise I make lightly. She's my mate. My wolf claimed her. I'd die before I let anything hurt her." Something in Marcus's expression cracked. Relief mixed with devastation. "Good, that's good." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small jade stone, the packstone West had retrieved from this very mansion 3 nights ago. "Dan told me you've been searching for this." Marcus pressed it into West's hand. "That it belonged to your father. That he died thinking he'd lost your family's most precious heirloom." His voice softened. "Take it. It's yours. It was always yours." West's fingers closed around the stone, his expression unreadable. "You're giving this to me? As payment for keeping her safe?" Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. "For loving her when I couldn't show her I loved her without the magic choking me silent." "Stop." Lotus's voice shook. "Stop talking like you're saying goodbye." "What's happening? What aren't you telling me?" "I'm just happy," Marcus said, but his voice broke on the words. "My daughter came home with her mate. That's all a father could want." "Actually," Jasper's small voice cut through the tension, "she's done a lot more than just find a mate. She's saved so many people. Like that woman at the cafe, Martha, I think, had a heart attack. Lotus saved her life. Very heroic. Should probably get a medal." The color drained from Marcus's face. He looked at Elena. Something passed between them, a look loaded with history and horror and inevitability. "No." The word came out barely a whisper. "Lotus, tell me the ferret is lying." Lotus's throat closed. "There was a woman at a cafe. She was dying. I had to—" "That's 3. Marcus stumbled backward, his hand finding the wall for support. West's arm came around Lotus's waist, protective. 3 lives? What does that mean?" "It means," Marcus's voice broke, "it means I've run out of time." Elena moved forward, her hands twisting together. When Lotus was born, she was blessed by a witch, an ancient one, powerful beyond measure. The blessing gave Lotus the gift of light healing magic, the ability to cure anything, heal anyone, with just a touch. "That's a good thing," West said slowly. "The magic came with a price." Elena's voice shook. "A curse, really. After Lotus saves 3 lives, the witch returns to claim her. The world tilted sideways." Lotus heard the words, understood them individually, but together they made no sense. "Claim me? What does that mean?" "Your mother wanted to know the same thing." Marcus's face was gray. "She tried to fight the witch. Tried to break the curse. The witch killed her for it. You were 3 days old. I held you while your mother died, trying to protect you from a curse we didn't understand. That's why you locked me up." The pieces were falling into place, each one landing like a blade. "You weren't trying to control me. You were trying to keep me from using the magic, from saving people, from triggering the curse." "I couldn't tell you." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. "There's a gag spell attached to the curse. Any attempt to warn you about the 3 lives," he gasped, his hand flying to his throat, "triggers consequences." West's wolf surged forward. "What kind of consequences?" Elena's tears fell faster. "The gag spell is tied to Marcus's life force. Every time he tried to tell Lotus about the curse, it drained him. Small amounts at first. But telling her now, breaking the gag spell completely," her voice broke, "it's killing him." "No." Lotus lurched forward. "No, you can't. Dad, you can't." "I can, and I did." Marcus smiled, soft and sad. "Better me than you. Better 1,000 times me than you." His legs buckled. Lotus caught him barely, his weight dragging them both down. They hit the floor together, Marcus's breathing shallow and wrong. "Dad!" Lotus's hands found his chest, her palms already starting to glow. "I can fix this. I can heal." "Don't!" Elena's hand caught Lotus's wrist. "That's what she wants. That's the trap. If you heal him now, that's your third life. The witch comes immediately." "I don't care!" Gold light spilled from Lotus's hands, pouring into Marcus's chest. "He's dying. I'm not going to let him die because of some curse. Lotus, no!" West's voice, desperate, but it was too late. The magic was already flowing, seeking out the damage, the poison of the gag spell that was eating Marcus from the inside out. Lotus poured everything into it, her power, her will, her desperate need for her father to live. Marcus's eyes flew open, color returned to his face. His breathing steadied, strengthened. Then the light in the room changed, not the warm golden glow of Lotus's magic. This was different. Cold and silver, with edges that cut like broken glass. The air crackled with power that tasted like ozone and old blood. A figure materialized in the center of the room, forming from light and shadow and something that predated both. Female-shaped, beautiful in the way that poisonous things are beautiful. Eyes like stars dying in reverse. The witch. She smiled, and the temperature dropped 10 degrees. 3 lives given freely. Her voice echoed like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. "The debt is paid, the contract fulfilled. Time to come home, little light-bearer." Silver light erupted around Lotus, circling her like chains made of moonlight. Her body started to fade, becoming translucent, reality losing its hold on her. "No!" West lunged forward, his hand passing through her shoulder. "Lotus!" Lotus looked at him through the silver light, her heart breaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have. Don't you dare apologize." West's voice cracked. "Don't you dare say goodbye." The silver light intensified. Lotus could feel herself being pulled away, torn from this world, dragged towards something vast and terrible and cold. "West!" His name came out broken. "I love—" "Stop!" West whirled on Elena, his eyes pure gold, his wolf right there beneath his skin. "Tell me how to break this. There has to be a way. Tell me!" Elena's hands shook as she pointed at the witch. The light-healing magic is precious, sacred. To break a bond that powerful, you need something equally precious. A life force so strong, so rare, that it balances the scales. "What kind of life force?" "I don't know. Something the witch values, something she can't refuse." Elena's voice rose to a scream. "The spell is contained in her pendant. If you can break the pendant, you might break the spell." West didn't hesitate. He charged at the witch, his body already shifting, bones cracking, muscles reforming. His hand found his pocket, closing around the jade stone Marcus had given him, his father's stone. 6 generations of his family's most precious heirloom, the stone his father had died thinking he'd lost. The witch's eyes widened. "No, you wouldn't. Watch me." West slammed the jade stone into the witch's pendant with all the force of an alpha protecting his mate. The 2 objects connected with a sound like the universe cracking open. Light exploded outward, gold and silver and jade green, mixing and melting and consuming each other. The pendant shattered. The jade stone crumbled to dust. Power detonated like a bomb, throwing everyone backward. The silver chains around Lotus shattered. She hit the floor hard, solid and real, and gasping for air. The witch staggered, her form flickering. She looked at West with something that might have been respect, or might have been rage. It was hard to tell when her face was dissolving into light. "A family heirloom." Her voice was fading, becoming distant. 6 generations of pack magic. You destroyed it. For her. "I'd destroy the world for her," West said flatly. The witch's laugh echoed like wind chimes in a storm. "The soulmate bond, the rarest magic of all. Stronger than curses. Stronger than death." Her form was almost gone now, just light and shadow. You've earned your freedom, little light bearer. Treasure it. Treasure him. True mates are precious beyond measure. Then she was gone, dissolving into nothing, taking the curse with her. Silence crashed through the room. Lotus lay on the floor, her chest heaving, her hands shaking. Real. Solid. Here. Then West was there, pulling her into his arms, his hands in her hair, his face pressed against her neck. "You're here." His voice shook. "You're still here. I'm here." Lotus wrapped her arms around him, holding tight. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here." Behind them, Marcus pushed himself upright, Elena helping him. He looked at West and Lotus, at his daughter safe in her mate's arms, and smiled through his tears. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for being the kind of man who'd destroy something precious to save someone he loves." West didn't look away from Lotus. She's worth more than any stone, any heirloom, any legacy. His hand cupped her face, gentle despite the tremors running through him. "She's worth everything." Jasper appeared from behind the couch, whiskers twitching. "Well, that was dramatic, very emotionally intense. I may need therapy. Also cheese. Definitely cheese." Lotus laughed, broken and watery and real. She pulled back just enough to look at West, at his eyes that were still gold, but starting to fade back to their normal color. "You destroyed your family's stone," she whispered. 6 generations. I'd do it again." West's thumb brushed across her cheek. "I'd do it 1,000 times. Because you're my family now. You're my legacy. Everything else is just stuff." "That was very expensive stuff." Dan's voice came from the doorway. He stood there with Garrett and 6 Silvercrest wolves, all looking shell-shocked. "But also very romantic. I'm not crying. You're crying." "We're all crying," Garrett said, wiping his eyes. "Shut up." Elena moved forward, her hands finding Marcus's shoulders. "It's over. The curse is broken. She's free." Marcus's arms came around his daughter and his wife, pulling them close. "My girls, my family, finally free." Lotus buried her face against her father's shoulder, feeling his wolf settle, feeling the years of fear and desperation finally release their grip. Free. After 29 years of walls and locks and suppressants that dulled everything beautiful about her wolf, she was finally impossibly free. And she had a mate who destroyed his most precious heirloom to save her. West's hand found hers, their fingers threading together like they'd been designed to fit. "So," Jasper said from somewhere near the floor, "what happens now? Do we get dinner? Because I vote for dinner. And cheese, mostly cheese." Lotus laughed through her tears. "Yeah, dinner sounds good." West pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "And after dinner?" After dinner, Lotus looked up at him, at her mate, at the man who'd broken a curse and broken his own heart trying to save hers. "After dinner, we figure out the rest of our lives." "Together," West said. Not a question. A promise. "Together," Lotus agreed. And for the first time in her life, the future didn't feel like a cage. It felt like freedom. It felt like home. It felt like West's hand in hers, and Jasper's tiny weight on her shoulder, and her father's arms around her, and the certain, absolute knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Finally, completely, perfectly free. Epilogue. 3 weeks later. Lotus woke to the smell of burning toast and creative cursing. She lay in West's bed, their bed now, listening to him murder breakfast in the kitchen. The cabin was smaller than the Silvercrest mansion, more rustic, but it was theirs. No biometric locks, no bulletproof windows, just wood and warmth and the constant scent of wood smoke that clung to everything West touched. Her wolf stretched contentedly, purring about mate and home and safe. "I can hear you panicking from here," she called toward the kitchen. "I'm not panicking. I'm strategically reassessing the toast situation." A pause. "The toast is on fire." "That's panicking." "It's a small fire, very contained, barely counts as a fire." Lotus climbed out of bed, padding barefoot across the hardwood floor. She found West in the kitchen, holding a smoking toaster at arm's length, while Jasper sat on the counter, whiskers twitching with judgment. You're supposed to push the lever down, Jasper said, not hold it down with a fork while the bread carbonizes. I was multitasking. Wes deposited the toaster in the sink, running water over it, making eggs and toast simultaneously. You made charcoal and what I can only describe as egg-adjacent substance. Jasper pointed at the pan where something vaguely yellow and definitely wrong was congealing. This is a crime against breakfast. Lotus wrapped her arms around West's waist from behind, pressing her face against his shoulder blade. You're terrible at cooking. I'm an alpha. I have people for cooking. You have me now, and I cook. Thank God. West turned in her arms, pulling her close. His eyes were still sleep-soft, hair sticking up in directions that defied physics. Morning. Morning, she smiled up at him. We're supposed to be at the picnic in 2 hours. 2 hours is plenty of time. Not if you're still trying to make breakfast. I could order something. From where? We're in the woods. Dan could bring something. Dan is not your personal breakfast delivery service. He's my beta. It's literally in his job description. It's absolutely not in his job description, Dan's voice called from the front door. But I brought bagels anyway because I know you can't cook, and I'm a saint. Dan walked in carrying 2 bags, his expression long-suffering. Also, I'm charging you for this. Premium delivery fees. Put it on my tab, West said, not releasing Lotus. Your tab is astronomical. You owe me your firstborn at this point. Jasper perked up. Are we talking about compensation? Because I have a list. A very detailed list of my contributions over the past 3 weeks that deserve recognition. You ate an entire wheel of aged Gouda yesterday, Lotus said. That was your recognition. That was a Tuesday. I'm talking about formal recognition. Awards. Possibly a medal. Definitely more cheese. Jasper hopped onto Dan's shoulder. Actually, Dan, I need to talk to you. Privately. It's sensitive. Dan's eyebrows rose. You want relationship advice, don't you? How did you? You've been disappearing for hours, coming back with twigs in your fur and a dopey expression. You're clearly courting someone. Dan set the bagels on the counter. Who's the lucky lady? Or gentleman, I don't judge. Jasper's whiskers turned pink. Her name is Penelope. She's a guinea pig. Has an MBA from a very prestigious online university. Very accomplished. Very fluffy. Wes choked on his coffee. Lotus bit her lip to keep from laughing. A guinea pig, Dan said slowly. You're courting a guinea pig. She's not just any guinea pig. She's sophisticated, educated, has opinions about market trends. Jasper's tail swished nervously. And I don't know how to court properly. Do I bring her cheese? Do guinea pigs even like cheese? What if she's lactose intolerant? This is a disaster. Breathe, Dan said. First question. Where did you meet this guinea pig? At the sanctuary. Marcus and Elena have been taking in displaced supernatural animals. Penelope was rescued from a lab. She's been through trauma. I want to be respectful, gentle, not come on too strong, you know? That's actually very thoughtful, Lotus said, moving to the counter. Does she know you're interested? I've been bringing her premium alfalfa, and yesterday I picked a dandelion, a very nice dandelion. She seemed pleased. So you've been courting her with salad, Wes said. It's romantic salad. There's a difference. Dan pulled out his phone. Okay, guinea pig courtship. Let's research this. You're actually helping him? West asked. Of course I'm helping him. The ferret saved your mate's life multiple times. He deserves love. Dan scrolled through search results. Says here guinea pigs appreciate vocal communication. Do you squeak? I can squeak. I'm very versatile vocally. Also says they like gentle grooming. Preening each other's fur. Jasper's eyes went wide. That's very intimate. We haven't reached that level yet. We've barely made eye contact for more than 3 seconds. Maybe start with more dandelions, Lotus suggested, pulling cream cheese from the fridge. Build up to the grooming. What if she doesn't like me back? Jasper's voice went small. What if she just sees me as a friend? The alfalfa-bringing friend who's clearly desperate? Then she's an idiot, Wes said. You're a catch. You speak multiple languages. You can pick any lock. You know ferret foo. Any guinea pig would be lucky to have you. Jasper's whiskers perked up. You really think so? I know so. You're the magnificent Jasper, remember? Master of ferret foo, champion of the downtrodden, defender of... Jasper paused. Okay, I feel better. Thank you for the pep talk. Very alpha of you. That's what I'm here for. Pep talks and mediocre breakfast attempts. The breakfast was terrible, Dan said. Like, impressively terrible. I've seen war crimes less offensive than those eggs. The picnic was held at Rockview Overlook, the same place where 30 Silvercrest wolves had gathered to rescue Lotus 3 weeks ago. But today there was no tension, no fear, just blankets and food, and 2 packs mingling like they'd been allies for years instead of rivals. Lotus stood at the edge of the overlook, watching wolves from both packs play an increasingly chaotic game of capture the flag. West's hand was warm in hers, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Your pack likes me," she said, watching as one of West's younger wolves, barely 20, tried to flirt with a Silvercrest fighter who could probably break him in half. "My pack adores you." West pulled her closer. "Especially after you healed Tom's kid last week. The pneumonia thing. That was nothing. It was everything to Tom." West pressed a kiss to her temple. "You can heal freely now. No curse, no counting lives, no witch waiting to claim you. You can just help people." Lotus's throat tightened. 3 weeks of freedom and she still wasn't used to it. Wasn't used to walking outside without her suppressant bracelet. Wasn't used to her wolf running free. Wasn't used to West's hand in hers without fear knotting her stomach. "I keep expecting it to end," she whispered. "Keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing's going wrong." West turned her to face him. "You're free. We're together. Jasper's trying to court a guinea pig with an MBA. Everything's perfect." "Jasper told you about Penelope?" "Dan told me about Penelope while we were setting up. Apparently, Jasper's been stress-eating cheese and writing love poetry." "Love poetry?" "Haiku's about premium alfalfa. It's either very romantic or very disturbing. Haven't decided which." Lotus laughed, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep. West's eyes crinkled at the corners, his smile soft and private. "I love that sound," he said quietly. "Your laugh. Took me 3 weeks to realize I'd never heard you really laugh before. Not like this. Not free. I love you." The words came out easy, natural. She'd said them before, in the quiet moments, in the dark, in the safety of their cabin, but each time felt new. "I love you and your terrible cooking and your overprotective alpha nonsense and the way you destroyed your family heirloom without hesitation." "Best decision I ever made." West's hand cupped her face. "You're worth more than any stone, any legacy, any—" "Attention, everyone!" Marcus's voice boomed across the clearing. "If I could have your attention, please." The game stopped. Wolves gathered, curious and attentive. Marcus stood on a flat rock, Elena beside him, looking more relaxed than Lotus had ever seen him. No alpha tension in his shoulders, no weight of command in his eyes. Just her father, free of his title and apparently thriving. "3 weeks ago, I stepped down as alpha of Silvercrest Pack," Marcus began. "It was the right decision. Long overdue, honestly. But retirement wasn't sitting well with me. I'm too young to just sit around." "You're not retiring," someone called from the crowd. "You're just changing jobs." Marcus smiled. "Exactly. Elena and I have decided to take over the Kangri Sanctuary full-time. We're turning it into a proper haven for supernatural beings who don't fit anywhere else. Displaced animals, wolves without packs, anyone who needs safety and doesn't have anywhere else to go." A ripple of approval moved through both packs. "We're also opening it up to young wolves who need training," Elena added. "Teaching them control, history, pack dynamics. Think of it as a supernatural boarding school, but less murdery than the books make it sound." Laughter rolled through the crowd. "We break ground on the expansion next month," Marcus continued, "and we're looking for volunteers. Anyone interested in teaching, building, or just helping out, come find us after lunch." He looked directly at Lotus, his expression soft. "My daughter taught me something important these past weeks. That hiding and protecting aren't the same thing. That walls can be prisons, even when they're built with love. So we're building something different. A place where people can be safe without being caged. Where they can choose to stay instead of being forced." Lotus's eyes burned. West's arm came around her waist, steady and solid. "That's beautiful, Marcus," someone said. "Very heartwarming. But more importantly, when's lunch? I'm starving." "Garrett's handling the grill," Marcus said. So probably never. He burns everything. I heard that, Garrett called from where he was, indeed burning hamburgers. The crowd dispersed, returning to games and food and laughter. Lotus moved toward her father, West trailing behind her. Marcus met her halfway, pulling her into a hug that lasted longer than necessary. I'm proud of you, he whispered against her hair. Not for surviving, for choosing to live. There's a difference. I learned from the best, Lotus whispered back. Eventually, after you stopped locking me in basements. Marcus laughed, raw and real. Fair. That's fair. Elena joined them, wrapping her arms around both of them. My family. Finally whole. They stood like that for a long moment. Father, daughter, and the woman who'd loved them both enough to stay through impossible choices and gag spells and curses that killed. Oh good, you're all being emotional, Dan's voice interrupted. Perfect timing. I have someone who wants to meet Lotus. A young man stood beside Dan, maybe 19, with nervous eyes and hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting. Hi, I'm Gerald. I work security at the Silvercrest estate. Worked. Past tense. Before the whole thing. Lotus blinked. Gerald, the guard whose phone Jasper borrowed? Yeah, Gerald's face went red. About that, I need to ask. Did your ferret? Did he? Were the searches about dating advice and romantic gestures his? Silence. Then, yes! Jasper's voice came from somewhere in the crowd. They were mine! Gerald, I'm so sorry. I needed to research courtship, and I only had 15 minutes a week, and I panicked and searched how to impress a lady and best cheese for romantic occasions and possibly guinea pig mating rituals. But that last one was recent and not on your phone, I swear. Gerald's shoulders sagged with relief. Oh, thank God. I've been so confused. My girlfriend kept asking why I was Googling guinea pigs. In my defense, Jasper continued, now visible on top of a cooler, your browser history was already questionable. I barely made it worse. What was in his browser history? Someone asked. We're not discussing it. Gerald's face went redder. It's private, between me and my questionable life choices. Was it cheese? Dan asked innocently. Why would it be cheese? Just checking. Lotus was laughing so hard her sides hurt. West's shoulders shook beside her. Even Marcus was grinning, his arms still around Elena. Attention! Jasper called out, still standing on the cooler like a tiny, furry general. I have an announcement, a romantic announcement. Penelope... He gestured dramatically. Would you join me? A guinea pig emerged from behind a basket, her fur a beautiful mix of brown and white, her dark eyes intelligent and cautious. The entire picnic went silent. Penelope, Jasper continued, his voice going soft, we've known each other for 3 weeks. You've taught me about market economics, proper alfalfa selection, and the importance of cage maintenance. You're brilliant, kind, and your fur is extremely fluffy. Would you do me the honor of courting you? Officially? With intent? Penelope squeaked. Then squeaked again, softer. Jasper's whiskers trembled. Is that a yes? Another squeak. She said yes. Jasper jumped 3 feet in the air. Everyone, she said yes. We're officially courting. With intent. This is the best day of my life. The crowd erupted in cheers. Dan wiped his eyes. I'm not crying. Shut up. We're all crying, West said, not bothering to hide his smile. The ferret got his girl. The ferret earned his girl, Garrett corrected. Through cheese and dedication and premium alfalfa. That's true love right there. Penelope waddled over to Jasper, touching her nose to his. Jasper made a sound that might have been a squeak, or might have been crying, or might have been both. I brought you a dandelion, he said softly. It's over by the cooler, very fresh. Picked it this morning. Penelope squeaked approval. Also, I have cheese, obviously. Multiple varieties. We can have a tasting. Very sophisticated, very romantic. More squeaking. She says cheese is perfect, Jasper translated for the crowd. Also that I talk too much, but she finds it endearing. Endearing. She used the word endearing. Technically, she squeaked, Dan said. I'm fluent in guinea pig now. Don't question me. Lotus leaned into West's side, watching Jasper and Penelope waddle off together toward the promised cheese tasting. That's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Wait until they start grooming each other. West's arm tightened around her. Dan says that's stage 2 of guinea pig courtship. How does Dan know so much about guinea pig courtship? He Googled it for 3 hours last night. Very dedicated beta. You have the best pack. We have the best pack, West corrected. You're part of it now. Officially. The elders approved it last week. You're not just my mate. You're pack. Something in Lotus's chest expanded, warm and golden. Pack, family, belonging. And that's where we leave Lotus, West, and the magnificent Jasper, free, in love, and planning a wedding with highly controversial cheese fountains. Thank you for listening to Mate Heist, Love on the Run, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button, share it with fellow Shifter romance fans, and leave a comment below. Your engagement keeps these stories coming. Tell me, Team Jasper or Team Penelope? And should there be cheese fountains at the wedding? Let me know in the comments. Want to see more of Jasper's chaos, Dan's dating advice, Marcus and Elena's love story? Comment below with which character you want to see next. DN Leo reads every single comment and takes requests seriously. And don't forget, Jasper's complete guide to cheese, courtship, and criminal activity is waiting for you. It's everything you need to know about lockpicking, guinea pig courtship, and why American cheese is a crime against humanity. The link is in the description and pinned in the first comment below. Trust me, you don't want to miss Jasper's unfiltered wisdom. Coming up next on this channel, more wolf shifter romance, more talking animals with attitude, and more stories written exclusively for you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next romance. Until next time, may your escapes be dramatic, your mates be devoted, and your cheese be Swiss. This is DN Leo. Thanks for listening.